How's it going, everyone? Just want to make sure everything is ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Arshee, and we're about to show you guys what EG7, when they acquired Daybreak, and what that means for Rogue Planet Games, Planetside 2. I've got Lanzer here with me, everyone, and we're going to basically have a chance to do a two-person talk as to what this is going to be doing for all of us here tonight. Let's go ahead and introduce Lanzer. Lanzer, how you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I've got Lanzer on the call right now. We're going to go ahead and switch the scene as soon as we get a chance to learn more about Lanzer. Lanzer, tell me more about your background and what everybody should have expectations for.
Yeah, good question. So my background is primarily business and military. So I joined the military shortly after college, where I was a contract negotiator for the U.S. military. I did that for many years, and not long ago transitioned to a program manager role of an aircraft program. So I've been along the way. I've owned my own business, publishing songs to iTunes and novels to Amazon and Audible, and different creative endeavors like that in the background, while working and playing in Planetside, particularly co-founding Server Smash and Planetside battles with Dotzer and Alleluia and the rest of the PSB admins. We helped put on the Record Smash that broke the Guinness World Record, and just ever since, I love the game. I love Planetside, and I'm really excited to apply my business expertise to this sort of thing, because when EG7 came into the picture, the level of transparency increased substantially. Like our access to what we could see, what was happening behind the scenes, and my business ears perked up as soon as I saw an investor relations PowerPoint put out by EG7, and I went into the matrix after that, and I'm very excited about what it is that I'm reading and seeing. So what you can expect from this stream is Arshee and I have put in a ton of research to figure out what is actually happening. Remember, we all remember with Columbus Nova, when they purchased Daybreak, the access to information was significantly lower. We didn't really know what was happening. We just knew what you could read about the Columbus Nova about page. EG7 is a different story. They post regular financial reports, and their CEO has done multiple Q&As, as is the rest of their board team. It's just a library of information that, if you're interested in delving into, you can learn all sorts of things about not only EG7 and Daybreak, but Planetside 2, how well we're doing, how well we were doing, and what to expect in the future. And that's what we have here showing you today, is kind of, we distilled down the 20-something pages of research notes down into a slide point presentation that I think you can connect back to you fighting on Esamir at ISA Tech Plant. Why does it matter to you? And that's, the excitement that I have is the convergence of my business background and then Planetside 2. And this is where they meet together.
I love it. I love it. If you guys want to know how me and Lanzer met, he's in a guild called, or outfit called, the 666 Devil Dogs. And I think I'm echoing right now, Lanzer, if you don't mind. I think my audio is coming through you and through your speakers.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. So one of the things that are actually happening is that I did an outfit spotlight for the 666 Devil Dogs, met Lanzer in the middle of that fight, became good friends after we did that outfit spotlight, had an opportunity to see his craft. He came to me with the proposal of EG7's acquisition. I'd love to do a stream with you, Arshee. And I sat there thinking, how can I make this hype on my channel? How can I deliver this to you guys in such a way that makes sense about Planetside and not everything that EG7 talked about? And so, Lanzer, honestly, massive props to you, buddy. You shaved off literally almost 4 hours worth of talking points. And so thank you for making that happen for all of us here, as well as I hope it's fun for everybody in the chat. I'm going to say hi to the chat real quick. We've got Wilhelm Caster in the chat. You missed the reunion last night. You're fired. I'm just kidding. We've got Jason Kane 2020. Lanzer said I sure did. Jettle, it's good to see you, Jet. We've got as well Cedric12354, Papa Geiger. I'm gonna have to get a new haircut. I know. You made me smile when I read that. Alpha141 is in the house. Cinematic hashtag #1 for Planetside 2 back in 2020. Don't worry, 2021's coming for another cinematic freaking competition, hopefully with no DMCA on it, so I can show those damn videos. Because Twitch DMCA law is a little different than YouTube. Actually, extremely. Let me just be honest with that. Everybody who's currently watching, let's go ahead and dive right in and give you exactly what you guys wanted. Thanks, chat, for stopping by. Again, my name is Arshee, and Lanzer is here tonight to help you guys understand more about the EG7 acquisition into Daybreak and how that influenced Rogue Planet Games and Planetside 2. And we've shaved off the other pieces that help not direct our attention to Planetside 2. Some slides won't have anything to do with it, but in the grand scheme of things, it does. So if you have any questions, we'll try to get to them, but this is going to be a long conversation. So bring your coffee and enjoy this podcast. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the slide to showcase where Lanzer is. Lanzer, are you ready?
I'm ready, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say Arshee. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you and what you do for the community. And then shout out to my old Devil Dogs who invented the Max Crash back in Planetside 1.
That's what I'm talking about, Devil Dogs. Yeah. All right, let's switch the slide.
Right on.
All right, we've got Lanzer, guys, over here. He's all in the far left. Lanzer, how you doing, buddy, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Ready to go.
It looks like for some reason it says ArsheeTV in the bottom left. Why would it do that? Okay, we're good.
You know?
I just figured it out. It's actually on there. It was actually the wrong thing. That's actually an overlay on the stream. Does not have ArsheeTV underneath it. We're good to go. Go ahead, Lanzer. Tell me what we're basically looking at right now, and you would basically go for each slide, and I'll be paying attention, asking you questions throughout the entire event.
Yeah. So what you're looking at right now is what we've been promoting the past week. It's the first slide of the PowerPoint presentation I'm about to delve into. It basically is a distillation, a summary, a abbreviation of the vast amount of data and slide points and financial reporting that EG7 releases on their website. You can go right now to the EG7 website, go under Investor Relations and Presentation subheader, and you can access almost everything I'm about to tell you. Everything that you're about to see is public knowledge. I don't have any secret sources of any kind. It's just me delving into their PowerPoint presentations, and they look really good. And as you'll see, they're really well put together. They paint the picture of what's happening, why it happened, and where it's going. And this is going to be, I want it to be interactive. You know, we have it in a way that you can ask questions. And as we're going through, if the questions flow right into the slide, then I'll answer it right on the spot. If not, then write it down and we'll get back to it and tie it off there at the end. But you're looking at how EG7, a gaming conglomerate, intends to help us, Planetside 2, grow bigger, more exposure, get into more eyes, which increases player count and increases rest scene average activity.
God. 1 second.
Jason K 2020
I'm hearing it.
give
Okay,
3
that's
subs to the family.
I don't even know what the hell just happened. I just got bombed by Jason Kane. Hold on 1 second. Let me find out if I have 2 layers of Streamlabs open. I don't have Streamlabs open
Turn
twice.
down your volume, folks.
That was insane. I think I have both overlays inside the same loop. Give me 1 second, chat. I'm sorry for that.
Classic.
Oh my god. Planetside 2 loop in the background. We have Lanzer explosions. We're gonna go ahead and
Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up or is it?
I'm gonna test that one more time, chat. I'm so sorry. Let me do one more test. There we go. There we go. That was my fault. Thank you so much.
So hopefully you heard everything I just said. If
Jason
not,
Kane
the
2020
summary is
just gifted 3
things are
subs to the
looking good,
family.
and here's how. And you're about to see why.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Lanzer was just saying we're about to dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and mute all in-game alerts. Thank you so much, Jason Kane, for the gifted subs. It seems like I did not mute that. Thanks for bringing it in right now. Go ahead.
Oh, that was the source of it?
Not your fault at all. Not your fault
It's
at all.
all good. It's all good. Hey, Jason, thanks for supporting Arshee.
Appreciate it. Not at all. You guys can go
All
ahead
right.
and donate
So
away.
go ahead and go
I'll
to...
say thank you to everybody who basically donates and supports this channel at the very end of this presentation. Promise I'll spend some time reading the next 10 hours of a half that has to go that way. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, right on. And there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that Arshee does so that I could be sitting here talking to you about this thing. So thank you very much. All right, so you can see my little thing here. It'll be our interactive laser pointer. We're going to go ahead and go to slide 2. So this is the agenda. We're going to talk about first what happened. What actually happened that garners this attention? 2, why does this matter to you? Planetside 2 player. Us, because I play the game too. Disclaimer.
Papegiga is now supporting the family with tier 1 sub.
Give me 1 second. How is this possible? How is the audio coming through? I muted the damn thing. Okay, give me a second. Not another one! What is going on? Hold on. Oh my god.
Papegiga just gifted 5 subs to the family.
You can't stop the emotes.
I know what's happening.
Right.
I'm using the wrong camera
the memes
source.
Are strong with this one.
The memes are very strong. Chat, I'm gonna disappear for half a second. I'm using the wrong scene, and that's the reason why.
It's okay. You know, I can cover while you're gone.
Give me a second, chat.
So again, shout out to the Devil Dogs. Been a Devil Dog for what, 6-7 years? NC Connery, man. If just the community itself is just really awesome to be around. Whether you're the Devil Dogs, whether you're Western Tac, all the way over in Emerald, if you're AOD, Fear, there's Bade, Recursion, like there's just a long list of really, we have a strong community, and it shows by how willing people are to watch stuff like this. And you're good?
I'm 100% good. So I don't know how to explain this to everybody. If you guys are right now doing any streaming in your lives, when you actually switch from Streamlabs to OBS, you can create scene sources. I selected the wrong scene source, which means I collected the entire stream from alerts. That means no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of it. Now, I don't think it's going to work. Let's go ahead and basically replay Papa Geiger's 5 gifted subs. And there you go. No audio is coming through. We're going to try one more time. At least you will see the effect. You just don't see the sound effect coming through, so it doesn't stop Lanzer from speaking, because Lanzer is going to be a 5-second delay to the stream, so he won't know that the actual gifted sub goes through. All right, Lanzer, go ahead. What happened?
Go ahead.
EG7, repeat. I'm sorry, chat, for watching this as a scuffed stream.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
It happens. So as I said, we're going to start with what happened. Then we're going to go over why it matters to us, the community. 3, we're going to go over a quick disclaimer. Some, just got to put it out there. 4, we'll talk about EG7 and Daybreak, kind of a snapshot summary picture of the two. 5, we'll actually delve into the analysis of the announcement. You can follow along if you'd like. I will give you what it is we're referencing, which is the recent announcement that the EG7 CEO, Robin, he had a video maybe just last week about it. We incorporated that into this. Then the original investor presentation from December 1st, 2020, which kicked all this off, and the press release that accompanied it. And last but not least, we'll go over thoughts on what happens next. Taking into account 1 through 5, what does that mean going forward? What can we expect to see? Or in my case, what am I guessing is going to happen based on what I've read? And then at the top here, you can see where we are, so you can follow along with this. All right, here we go. So, what happened? December 1st, 2020, Enad Global 7 AB, which is Akblock Day, Akblock, it's Swedish, acquired Daybreak Games LLC, limited liability company. And then April 30th, EG7 updated the community about Daybreak Games via video. So those are the two things that happen that really that matter here. And make sure I pronounce that right. Oh, Axibolag. That's AB. The comma
Can you
AB
confirm to me?
is the same thing as saying
Can you confirm to me
what was
April
that?
30th isn't 2021 when they updated the community because they
Oh,
acquired it?
oops, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was my mistake.
That was
That should say
something.
2021.
Yep.
How about we fix that?
Again, scuff trim, guys. I apologize for that. All this was handwritten.
You know, it happens all the time.
Yeah, no
so
worries.
there we go. April 30th, 2021. Real-time correction, which was just last week and a half ago. So that comma AB for everyone, that in Sweden that means a company. The comma or the parenthesis PUBL means it's a corporation, whereas Daybreak Games is an LLC. It's a company. If ENAG Global 7, comma AB didn't have the PUBL, that too would be an LLC equivalent. But as it stands, it's corporation equivalent. So just in terms of equivalency, that's where you can start to get an idea of where we're coming from. So December 1st, ENAG Global releases their presentation announcing the acquiring of Daybreak Games. April 30th, the CEO, Robin Floden, comes on to YouTube and updates us on where things are headed with Daybreak. So, why does this matter? My little pointer. Why does this matter to a PS2 player? There's four things that really, whether you know it or not, that just happens all around you. Excuse me. The first thing is, whenever something like this happens, a merger, an acquisition, it's a predictor. It acts as a predictor of future events. You can only really guess unless you're in the know of what that might be, but it should send off a little flare in your mind that something's happening. Second thing is that it means new management, and new management normally means a new perspective or a new vision. Sometimes that perspective and vision it brings with it a radical change. Other times, it's just the new vision is a continuation of the legacy. And in our case, based on what I've seen, the underlying portion there means that I think that this is a continuation of the legacy. Now, for many of us who've been in the Planetside 2 community for a long time, that legacy has different meanings. It brings forth different emotions, some positive, some negative. But in the case of what I'm using it here is the legacy of Planetside 2 bringing forth big battles, bringing forth a vibrant community, content, the sort of things that you're seeing right now. The parent company, the third thing is why it matters to you is because the parent company has a degree of control. They are buying ownership. And in the latest thing by Robin Floden, the CEO, he kind of spells that out. And the new annual report that released last week for EG7, that really spells out just how much control they have, and we'll let you know how much in a later slide. But it develops a new relationship. And for those of you who want to understand what the nature of that relationship is, EG7 goes above and beyond in telling you what that means.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, it's really good in my opinion.
I agree.
So that's the third thing. Parent company has a degree of control. And that should matter to you because that means they have control of the game you're playing. And fourth, it's a sign of a threshold that's been crossed. And in this case, it could be a matter of you've reached a certain level of success. Someone wants to buy your company. You've met a certain frustration or challenge that you couldn't overcome. So then someone else takes control. There's been a change in direction, which could be positive, negative, whatever the case may be. And the fourth thing is it's a recognition of something. And in this case, EG7 has publicly said many times that this is a recognition, this acquisition is a recognition of how well Daybreak is performing in the management of its own IP, of which one of them is Planetside 2. So that denotes a certain level of success that Daybreak has been able to achieve. So that's why this matters to you on the ground level. It helps you understand what's coming, it helps you understand what's changing, and it helps you understand what happened in the past to why this is occurring.
It's a good overview.
What do you think, Arshee? What's your
Overall,
impression of all this?
I just can't wait to just find out what is the predictions of your interpretation of what EG7 is going to be. The overall data that I actually looked over, I can easily just ask questions over Lanzer or chat and help you understand a bit more in depth about it. But let's go ahead and dive right into the slides. We have a lot to cover.
Yeah. So next slide, the disclaimer. This is the legal stuff we both need to say. First and foremost, we are fans of this game. We are fans of Planetside 2. We do not represent EG7, Daybreak, Rogue Planet Games, Planetside 2. We don't represent them. We're just fans. We love this game. Third is all information that you're about to see, as I mentioned in the beginning, public knowledge. We don't have any secret sources. I don't have an inroad anywhere that I tapped to get this knowledge. I simply click download PDF and presentations and watch YouTube videos to get the 22 pages worth of notes that I distilled down here into just some slides. And last but not least, we're not financial advisors.
Don't trust me
So
with that.
nothing presented here should be construed as legal advice, tax, investment, financial, or any other advice. Other than we're fans, we love the game, we see what we're seeing, and here's what we found.
Yep. At the same time, I ditto everything what Lanzer said. Again, we're just here to give you guys some information of what we've seen in the public forums. Lanzer's broke it down to give you specifically towards Planetside 2 or what EG7 is going to basically do for Daybreak, which in turn should help Rogue Planet Games succeed in creating a better game. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right on. All right. We're starting to get into the meat of it now. EG7 and Daybreak Games. So, EG7, if you don't know much about them, here it is. They're a Swedish corporation, incorporated in Sweden. They were founded in 2013 under a different name. It used to be called Toadman Interactive. And then they were renamed in 2018 when they started acquiring different studios, different gaming firms to branch out from what used to be a company that worked on Vermintide to now owning this big, massive conglomerate of gaming companies. So they are publicly traded. They're listed on the NASDAQ. You can check their ticker symbol right now, EG7, which is pretty cool. They had not 2020, the year before that, had $77 million in revenue. Excuse me, that is incorporating 2020. $70 million in revenue and 335 employees. Their CEO is Robin Floden. They own 6 other game companies. So just again, the next slides will show you the diagram of what that looks like, but they own a lot of other game companies, and those game companies aren't just developers. They're marketers, they're publishers, they're distributors. The full value chain of gaming, EG7 now has access to every single part of that process, and it's really exciting. So on the flip side, Daybreak, Planetside 2. Daybreak is an American company. It was founded in 2006. It was renamed in 2015 to Daybreak. It is a private limited liability company. It has $78 million of revenue with 301 employees. So you can tell that they're pretty evenly matched. And their CEO was Jason Epstein, and now he's part of the EG7 board. So he didn't get fired, he didn't leave. He now is a part of EG7. Daybreak owns 3 game studios: the Dark Paw, Standing Stone, and Rogue Planet. Rogue Planet owns the IP for Planetside 2, and so Daybreak is a primarily producer and developer of games. They produce and maintain GAS, GAS, which is Games as a Service products, which is the EverQuest, it's the DCU Online, and Planetside. So those are the 2 entities we're dealing with. Okay?
Sounds good.
right on. Private company is always going to be better than a publicly traded company. There's
I'm
pros and
excited
cons to each.
I'm excited to tell
Crickets.
you what that means when EG7 takes over Daybreak, especially when you see those 6 other game companies with their publishing and their marketing aspect. Let's go ahead and move over.
All right, now here is our information up front. Just decided to go ahead and give you the links to it. What we're using for our sources of data is the investor presentation on EG7's website. It's from fourth quarter 2020. There was a press release as well with that. And then April 2021, which I mentioned earlier, there was a community update via YouTube and a blog post on Daybreak's website. Those 4 things are going to be the brunt of what you all see here in the next slides. We also, some supporting information, which is where all the rest of the research came from, is EG7 has been pretty active in communicating who they are and what they are. They did an investor Q&A. They did a get to know the board groups, YouTube videos, all really interesting information about who it is that's now running EG7 and now Daybreak. So they have interim reports, and you'll see one of those here.
Sounds good.
All right, the first nugget. We're gonna go backwards in time. So 30 April 2021. That was just about a week and a half ago. There was a 14-minute YouTube video released with a blog post. So, as people mentioned in Reddit when this was originally announced that this was coming back in February, a lot of the comments centered around, great, but we don't think there's going to be a whole lot of information in that video. My answer to that is there's a ton of information in that video. It's not necessarily about Planetside 2. They talk a lot about H1Z1 because of the how vocal that community was and asking EG7 to resurrect it. With it, though, when you take into account everything that we learned from December, there is a ton of stuff. He confirmed a lot of things about how involved EG7 is in Daybreak, to include Planetside, how much authority and control they have. A lot of the things that you would want to know about what sort of influence EG7 expects to exert on Planetside 2 was answered in that video. So what it did do is it confirmed that studios have significant autonomy. So Rogue Planet Games, EG7, Robin, in this video, established that their role is to nurture and support. The studios produce. Now, behind the scenes, you're probably looking at some sort of licensure agreement where EG7 owns the IP, but they are licensing it out, or they have a use agreement for Daybreak and hence Rogue Planet Games to continually maintain, develop, update the Planetside 2. Now, the way he was talking made it seem like it was probably contractually put into their contract that Planetside to Rogue Planet Games will be able to develop this thing and have that significant autonomy enshrined in their agreement. But if they breach a certain threshold, like if they go down to 1 user or whatever, or whatever it may be, then EG7 may come in and say, "Hey, let us help you out, please. There's something going on here that's not working." And he mentions something like that in the video, so it's well worth the watch because it tells you this guy who is the CEO of EG7 what his mindset is. And his mindset is, we are here to help grow. We're here to nurture, support. We're not here to produce. That's what the studios are there for. So that's pretty cool to me because it tells us that Planetside 2, Rel, the developing team, they can expect a large degree of autonomy. Whether or not it plays out like that, we'll see. But that's what you can expect based on what Robin talked about.
I do want to clarify so that way everybody who does go and look at the April 30th video, the 14-minute video, majority of his conversation was about H1Z1. He just brushes up on Planetside 2 about how he's just going to leave it to their IPs. Rogue Planet Games he mentions, and he talks about how their community manager and their team should handle any of those specific questions they have issues with. H1Z1 doesn't have a development team. Overall explains that once we find someone who can take the reins of H1Z1, then we'll back off, because EG7 doesn't want to make your game at all. They want to use their influence to bolster the game companies like Rogue Planet Games, to let them focus on what they're good at, and they offer excelling support from the outside. That's why EG7 is such a great add-on. Let's go ahead and continue.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. All right. The third thing. So there's some things I keyed in on when he said them. One, he said there's a lot of issues, things that don't seem to be working. In the context of that sentence, he wasn't just talking about H1Z1. He didn't specifically say what IP he was addressing. I would not put it out of the realm of possibility that he was also talking about Planetside 2 when it comes to the community. Just by the way he zoomed out from H1Z1 at that point. So he cued in on that, and I cued in on that, and then he said right after that, toward the end, that, "Look, everybody, if we, EG7, if we do our job well, you're going to see things improve. If we nurture like we're supposed to, if we support like we're supposed to, studios will get better because they have access to all these new resources that they by themselves didn't have. And you're going to see things improve at that point."
Yep.
And to me, that was the promise.
That was
The
a good
promise
summary.
is that Robin intends to do the best job he can to help the studios produce and use all the other tools at their disposal to make it better. And if he follows through on that, if he does a good job at that, we're going to see Planetside 2 improve as well. So what I got from that is that Robin is a very forthright individual. Both in his Q&A, he reveals his upbringing, how he grew up in with a single mom in a poor neighborhood. He in his Q&A sessions, he's very forthright about where he comes from, why he believes what he believes, and why he's such a passionate gamer that wants to do well on the business end. This guy gets it. When I listen to him, he talks about what's possible. He talks about what isn't possible. He was very, very forthright about H1Z1. He said, "Look, we looked into it. We know that this IP is valuable, but we need to find someone who will champion this, because EG7, we're not going to do it ourselves. We're going to find a studio that will do it, and they will then produce this." He took responsibility for, this is our product, this is what we think, and then he said, here's how we can realistically accomplish that. And he's done that in almost every video that I've seen, to include his Q&A. This guy gets it. This guy plays games. He used to play EverQuest. He's played Planetside. That, to me, I think we're in really good hands with Robin here at the helm.
Yep.
So that was my impression of the video. That's why I say, yes, it had a lot of H1Z1 in it. However, there was so much subcontext there that, in taking into account all the previous stuff, it just, one dot after another starts to connect. It's I'm pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Let's keep going.
All right. So here you go. The other nugget of information. This is a gold mine. So this is the investor presentation, December 2020. This is what they released when they announced that they were acquiring Daybreak. They had a very lengthy, I think it was like 15, 30-minute video explaining and going through this PowerPoint presentation. You can watch it right now. Both the presentation itself and Robin's presentation of these slides, goldmine. Anything you want to know about this company, it's within reach. If
It's
you
all
want
public knowledge, and he actually expresses it that way. He wants it to be. He basically lets you know he wants it to be public knowledge. He doesn't want to hide anything. He's straightforward. Any question that gets asked, he's giving you what he knows, which is very cool. Doesn't hold anything back.
Yeah, exactly. He gets it, man. I think he gets what that intersection of business and gaming. I think he's
public interest
on point. Yeah, exactly right. So here is the opening, and the first thing that this told me was, all right, this looks pretty good. Their shading is good. They've got the beveling, the 3D. This already looks like something that I should pay attention to just through the presentation of it. And then here's the agenda. And the reason why I have the agenda up here isn't to tell you what it is they're going to go over. It's look at the attention to detail of this slide. You have a background, you have a shader underneath this, the actual overlay. You have different sorts of transparency models. I was very impressed from the get-go of whoever was making this presentation knew what they were doing. And as Robin was talking through them, it was apparent to me that they pay attention. They pay attention to detail. They care about the minutia. And for someone to care about the minutia gave me a lot of encouragement that what I was about to hear is what is actually the truth. Because there is always a degree of, when it comes to this sort of thing, how much is a presentation and how much is reality? And
So
corporations
you're
especially.
saying you like the graphics that basically they're showing from EG7?
I think the graphics display a level of professionalism and
Got it.
quality.
I just
Yeah.
want to make sure. No problem.
Yeah,
Let's just go.
I do like it.
I enjoy the graphics, but I enjoy the information as well. I want to go more in depth on the introduction to EG7 and show you guys exactly what they shared, because I know all of you guys out there are watching are as creative as the graphic individual who's showing us right now. The person who created for EG7, their logo is actually well thought out. You can literally see the EG and the 7 all in one logo. That's epic. They can separate it as a single entity, or they can switch it over to all 3 points. It's nice, bold, and it makes you feel clean. But let's go dive right into the agenda. I'm excited to show you guys the meat
if
of
I'm
the
pronouncing
product.
that right, Jetesnow asked if
Jettlesnow.
Jettlesnow, thank you. Jettlesnow asked if the revenue presented was gross or net, so before they take out expenses. EG7 shows both, and you'll see that here.
Yeah, and I'll also show you how much Planetside 2 makes in comparison to other Daybreak games. It's going to make you guys all lift your eyebrows.
Okay, so introduction to EG7. They first introduced themselves, and I highlighted all the parts that we'll focus in on. EG7 develops, markets, publishes, and distributes video games for the PC, console, and mobile on a global market. The group comprises of all those studios. So Petrol, Sold Out, Big Blue Bubble, Piranha Games, Antimatter Games. They acquired Innova in February. So they are making big moves, and they acquired them all in the last 2 years. So that tells you something. They are very serious about this. And some of these names, if you look at them, they are big names. Like Petrol worked on Valhalla, Call of Duty. They've touched a lot of really important games that you have heard of for sure. They cover the entire gaming industry value chain. We talked about that. The developing, marketing, distributing, and producing. Yeah. So here down at the bottom, you can see 657 SEK. That is revenue to date. So that's the tell me one more time, Jetesnow?
Jettlesnow.
Jetesnow. Jetesnow,
You
that
can
is
call him
before.
Jet for slow. Jet
Okay,
for
Jet. Yeah.
short.
Jet, this is the gross, the 657 million SEK. So that's Swedish crowns. And then after, so net revenue would be 156. That's EBIT, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. And I have what that equals in American dollars, which is 657 SEK is $79 million. 156 million SEK is $19 million. So there you go. Okay. All right. So then Robin goes into the next part, which is what they're after. They execute a buy and build strategy. And as he was talking, I'm reminded of Procter & Gamble. I'm reminded of Berkshire Hathaway. I'm reminded of Walmart. Procter & Gamble also does a buy and build strategy. It's not just a horizontal integration, it's a vertical integration. So horizontal would be buying other different game companies. Vertical means you're buying the value chain from start to finish. So that's what they've been doing. And as you can see, they had 8 million SEK in 2015. They now are at 876 million SEK as of 2020. That's in 5 years over $860 million. So yeah, that's a pretty impressive gain over gained.
Yeah.
So
Especially the margin difference between 2018 and 2019. That's a huge
right,
jump. And it continues too.
it's crazy.
It's not
And
just a
you'll see
one-time
that
thing.
2019 jump. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say it's not just one-time thing. You see it jumps again equivalent to 2020, which is amazing.
The year over year is just after 2017, they're leaving everybody in the dust at that point, all their competitors. So you can see Art Plant, Petrol, Antimatter Games, Sold Out, Big Blue Bubble, Piranha, and now Daybreak, and then Innova, on and on and on and on. They're like Pac-Man.
Acquiring as much as they can.
Right.
God, super smart.
And it's not just like they're acquiring random stuff. They explain their strategy. We wanted a distribution company, so we sought out Sold Out. We wanted other developing companies. We wanted an MMO developer. We wanted an MMO developer with a lot of IP. That was Daybreak. We wanted an MMO developer in Asia. That's Innova. So Piranha Games, marketing. We want a marketing company. That's Petrol. So yeah, they have a very structured, purposeful march toward being self-sufficient. Okay, so now we're on slide 6 of their presentation. Here's the breakout. They have 2 divisions, a game division and a service division. The game division is developing games. That's pretty much the way he described it. And as you can see, all these people here, all these entities, some of them are mobile developers, some of them are PC, some of them are console, some of them are online, some are single player. So they just hit the whole gamut at that point. But they're looking to develop their own titles. Excuse me. And the second one is that they are independent studios. So they're not a part of other conglomerates. They are now owned outright by EG7. Then their second division, services. That's everything to help the developers, the distribution and the marketing primarily. And as I mentioned, Petrol, who is the Goliath in this naming for sure. Petrol has worked on Call of Duty Warfare. They worked on Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They worked on several other very, very prominent titles that you have known. So you can be sure that when you see Petrol's name, they know how to market a product so well that it hits the top charts of the global industry of gaming. That to me, when I saw Petrol, I'm like, oh my gosh, EG7 owns a marketing firm responsible for some of the biggest titles in recent memory.
The biggest IPs,
and now they're connected to Planetside. That's the sort of tools that Planetside has at its disposal now. How that relationship works, that's going to be up to the corporation how to manage that. But now you know that link, it's absolute. It's there. It's awesome.
Let's continue.
That's power. That is
I want to show them
pure
exactly
power.
what each slide does next. So they explain what Petrol does personally. Unless you basically took it out of the slide.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
And I get so excited, I end up getting ahead of myself sometimes. So yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. And as you can see here, the total revenue of the developing division is at 63% versus the services. That's a good sign. That tells you that the majority of what they're making is from the making stuff versus I can't recall what it's called, but discretionary spending, which is things that we don't have to spend, which is marketing. That's what marketing is, discretionary. So a company can do without marketing much faster than they can do without a game. So it's good to know that split there. That's a healthy sign. Okay, the value chain. I've talked about this many times over already. I made a couple additions to it. So when you look at it from your screen, if you download it, you won't see this part here, nor will you see these numbers. So when Arshee and I were looking at this, we noticed that it kind of looked like it was almost out of order. And I consulted some other people low key, some past community managers from Planetside too, just to see like, hey, are we looking at this wrong? It doesn't seem like it makes sense the way it's described, and you know, it's, it's all interpretation at the end of the day. But from where we're standing, you develop the game first,
Yep.
you publish it second, you market it third, and you distribute it fourth. So you create the game, you package the game so that it can be monetized, create the agreements with the marketing teams who then blast it out to everyone, who then ship it to into their hands or in their Steam box.
So we adjusted it from a left to right angle to giving you the points of 1, 2, 3, and 4 above developing, marketing, publishing, and distributing. So you'll see that they're going to be a little confusing if you go from left to right. So when I actually sat down with Lanzer, I was like, yeah. So if you're going to develop a game, there are going to be companies that specifically own the rights to hire a development company. They have to make the game. After you make the game, you want to publish it to PlayStation and to Xbox and to other different situations like Steam, and then you market it. And of course, through marketing, you're going to have to make sure it goes distributing first, and marketing it could be last as well. So with 3 and 4 could be swapped. So regardless of how this value chain is working, don't look at the order. The whole purpose of it is that's EG7's value chain. If we want to know semantics of what their first, second, third, and fourth is, they're the $1 million company, not us. So they know what they're doing.
It's semantics.
Yeah, it's semantics it's semantics in the end. So it shows Rogue Planet Games, the development company. It shows Petrol is the marketing section. Daybreak is your publishing section. And then Sold Out will be distributing the product, which is very cool to see. Petrol and Sold Out incorporating into Daybreak and Rogue Planet, which shows the benefit of what EG7 will do if they actually are applying those behaviors, which we've been told they are going to do.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. You hit it. And these are just one example. As you saw here, there are many other developers that I could have substituted in. And Sold Out also doubles as a developing company. So I could have put Piranha there. I could have put Big Blue Games. Here I could have put Petrol. I don't think they had another marketer one. Yeah, Petrol.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Publishing, Daybreak, and then a lot of other developing studios double as a publishing studio or a studio. They double as a publishing company.
Just to confirm, EG7 only has one marketing section of the larger scheme of things. They have more game companies. Go back to the previous slide. Just to confirm, because I could be wrong about this. Services, marketing side is Petrol, correct? Distributing side is Sold Out. I don't know what Toadman is. Can you confirm that, or should we'll figure
Toadman,
it out?
They used to be, they are what EG7 is now, but they were a developing company. I don't recall what service they provided.
It shows games and services, so I'm just confused. But we'll find out later.
Some of them double.
Yeah. And that's the only one that doubled. I had that question last time when we sat through the slides, but we'll find out more. But they only have one aspect of EG7's marketing side. So the biggest thing I remember from EG7's conversation was they want everything in-house. That's the whole purpose of the slide, this value chain. They want everything in-house. They don't want to pay another company to be their publishing company. They don't want somebody else to distribute their products. They want to be holding the product. I would say similar to Apple, how they actually deliver it to you, advertise it, market it, and distribute it, and publish it, and develop it. They want all control over it. And so that's what EG7 is trying to show here, which is very good when it comes to having control over how you deliver a product, such as a cook, a chef will actually create the environment that you sit down, the food that you eat, and how you basically greeted and supported. And so it's important to have all those factors, especially if you want to have the quality of what you want to represent. So
yeah,
good on.
So as I look back at my notes, Toadman is also a work for hire. They worked on Vermintide. They're still working on Vermintide, but they also doubled as a publishing company as well, which makes sense as to how that became the platform through which EG7 was stood up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go to the next slide.
All right. So introduction to Daybreak. This is where I started. This is what piqued my interest. This is where I started saying, "Oh my gosh, this is a gold mine." Is when I came across This is the org chart of Daybreak, and they go into greater depth later on. But seeing this level of information is unheard of. you don't really see this in American companies when you look at their prospectus. Um, and there's reasons for that, them being a part of the EU. But you can see here that here's the key personnel, the people at the top. Jason Epstein, he's the CEO. G. Ham, Jason Epstein is the executive chairman, excuse me. G. Ham, CEO, he came on with Columbus Nova. Jack Emmert, he's the divisional econ standing stone head, and they each had a different background. And that Q&A video that I mentioned a little while ago that I linked is they go into introductions of their background, where they're from, why they're there. And here you can see that some of the messaging in this slide is very important to me. The pioneer of online games, Robin talked about this quite a bit, and how he used to be a big EverQuest player, and how EverQuest kicked off not everything, but really kicked off the MMORPG alongside WoW, and and how that IP is just invaluable. And then they talked about one of the reasons why they sought out Daybreak. They have free to play games as a service. They have very popular original IP that they own outright, which is very important. That means that you don't have to license it or pay royalties to other people. Not the case with DCU because they are licensing that out, but Planetside, EverQuest, Lotro, they are all outright owned by Daybreak and now EG7. And here's that license agreement with Marble. That will almost certainly include some sort of royalty kickback paid for the privilege of working on Marvel content. And then they talk about the 178 million total registered users. And that's all the games. And the funny thing is they break it down later on, and you can see how much is in Planetside, EverQuest. It's awesome.
That's the main reason why we decided to do this presentation, because of that slide. But we'll get to it soon.
Yeah. So the bookings right now, you're looking at $71 million, which is the gross. Net revenue of $63 million. So that's pretty dang good. But then when you adjust it for EBIT, which is the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, it's $26 million. That's not a bad thing. That when I delved into it and why it was like that, it looked like a lot of it was because of some loans that EG7 had that they needed to pay off. So they're looking at about a 41% margin, which that seems pretty good to me. And then 301 employees. So they just have access to a massive amount of manpower resources. Okay. So here is a slide that depicts Planetside 2, released in 2012, the one and only first-person shooter. It says, which is I still think is the case. And then different awards that we've won, and then here you go, the Guinness World Record, 1,158 players, record smash.
We've beaten that record off a test accidentally in the private test server when we asked everybody to show up for one event. We've hit over 1,200, but it wasn't recorded for Guinness Book of Records. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. It really only counts if you email Guinness, fly them out. They look at your server data like they did in 2016 with Record Smash. And then you take a picture with David Carey with the big, nice placard, and you pop champagne. And that's when it matters.
Awesome.
Okay, supporting of games. Here it starts to break out the member, which is immediate.
I need them to see the other slides as well. Can you go forward and then come back? Just show them there it is. That is easy to understand.
Yeah, this is what we're about to get into.
Yeah,
which is the breakout.
The breakout is going to be combined with the previous slide, so we'll go back and forth. So when I say go forward, I want to show this, and then we'll go back.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so
this is the juice.
Let's go back.
This is the juice. This tells you how the portfolio is divided out, which is just it's great.
Yeah. So
as you can see, EverQuest, they have 82,000 members. 66,000 of them are paying members. Then DCU has the largest at almost 500,000. So they're at 400,000 monthly active users and 40,000 paying. Then you can look over here at us. We have almost 200,000, but only 25,000 are paying. So that you can start to see the disparity and how we rank among our peers. Not terrible, but those are some interesting facts that we could only guess at before.
I just want to give some people some information here. Do you see YTD year-to-date bookings for 7.9 million for Planetside? We're not disrespecting Planetside. We just want to show you some numbers.
No, not at all. No. That it should be very clear, as you saw in the previous slides. Daybreak is pulling a net gain here, so they're not losing money.
Right.
They are getting their money's worth, and this
sadly they don't
surprisingly showed
they don't
how.
have the previous portfolio of what H1Z1 did, but these are the current live game portfolios, and so they didn't share that. But EverQuest, if you look at that, is showing. This is EverQuest, guys. This is like, how many years ago was that? 1999. That is still live today. It's making more money than Planetside. And and now, not only to explain that to you, the amount of members in Planetside is 82,000 players are paying. About 66,000 of them are paying. So I don't know if EverQuest, I don't know this, guys. I need chat to help me out with this. Is this a monthly service-based game? How is the other 22,000, if I did the numbers right, whatever, 20,000 plus or less than 20,000 plus, are not paying? So I don't understand that fact. And then another thing for you guys to note is that DC Universe with $26 million in the revenues year to date, you can't compare that to Planetside 2's model, because if you just times that by 2, Planetside 2 would have 400K players with 50K of their members paying, right? And it would be double that number. It would be around, let's say $16 million year to date. If we double the numbers, it still doesn't hit DC Universe's 26 million. Why? Because there's probably a lot more popularity around Marvel. That is the one thing. The DC Universe is extremely popular globally. There's going to be some information here that on paper looks like Planetside 2 doesn't make money. But once you break it down and identify how much money that Daybreak has to pay for that IP, you'll see the true number of how much they make from DC Universe Online. Even on paper, they say it's 26 million. You still have to pay royalties to who created Marvel and that licensing.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that a lot of people are going to fail to realize, is they get too excited saying, holy crap, DC's great. Well, it's great because it's a major popular brand, but they also have to pay the person who made that popular brand. And so let's go find out more in depth about how Planetside 2's year-to-date booking works in conjunction to DC Universe and EverQuest. And of course, Lord of the Rings is there too. We're just talking about the oldest game and the most money-making game on the number.
Yeah, and DC Universe, it's backed by Marvel. It's backed by Superman, Batman, Justice League. It's on PC, PS4, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. That they have movies about it. So that name brand recognition, it's not a surprise.
I made a mistake, chat. It's not Marvel. I did see there was a text chat in the very front that Daybreak does have licensing for Marvel. My brain stuck to Marvel. It's DC Universe is different than Marvel. My fault. Continue. They also have the licensing brand.
Appreciate the correction
On that.
Yeah, no, great. That's great.
I
don't know everything. We'll just put that out there.
I saw it on the slide and I kept it in my head. DC Universe is not Marvel, but they have the licensing on the first slide. If you go back on the slides, there was a single slide on there that said that they had owned the IP. Go there you go. License agreement with Marvel. That's where my brain thing is. That DC or is that Marvel? Did you make a mistake on that slide?
No, this isn't my slide.
Okay, so that's where I got confused, and so they have license agreement with Marvel as well, I guess. So that's where my head was at. Let's go forward.
Okay.
They do have, of course, with licensing with DC. If they don't, I don't know how the hell they have the game. All right, let's go forward.
Yeah.
Let's show them the actual pie chart. So here in this pie chart, I'm going to have Lanzer explain what EBITDA is again, and as well as why that percentage says 38% and then drops to 28%. That'll explain to you how much money they have to pay for that IP, and explains to you what happens for the total cost of Planetside 2. That means 11% earnings on bookings of the game, and then you're going to see how much they get to keep at 6% total. But what's amazing, I just don't understand EverQuest's numbers. I don't understand it. Somebody who's watching this, please make me understand this. But look at EverQuest, guys. What the is going on? Go ahead.
No. That I mean, maybe we should just go straight to that. As I mentioned, so the bookings, there's some disparity here. I had to do a lot of just straight up thinking because the way they describe what bookings is, it made it seem like it was their monthly activity users. But when you kind of backtrack that, it seems like it more is a gross income versus anything else. And whereas EBITDA, earnings before
Yeah,
interest
I was
and
gonna say.
taxes, depreciation and amortization.
Yeah.
So interest and taxes, interest on loans, taxes paid to government, depreciation, which are your assets, they devalue over time, and you're allowed to take that against your taxes, and then amortization, which is loans.
This is after
The what?
everything's been paid off, correct?
Yes, after
Okay.
everything, what you pretty much take home pay. I could
Okay,
say.
so take-home pay is on the right. I'm just going to summarize this. And on the very far left, you're going to see that this is what it looks like on paper, the total amount of money they make off of the individuals like you and I, where we would buy. I'm echoing if you don't mind, Lanzer. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
You and I are basically buying a product, and that product that we just purchased is, let's say, cosmetic skin. And that cosmetic skin that we actually have is on Planetside. And then all of that money comes in at the end of the year. That's the 11% on the left. Everything paid off, taxes, everything, the money that goes in your pocket is the 6% on the right. That means that's the total revenue model of Daybreak. And these are all Daybreak IPs that you're seeing right now. It's literally 6%, the smallest IP they own as far as a money-making brand. The smallest. But we are literally the loudest group of players I've ever seen when it comes to anything on Reddit, to anything that comes across from tweets. I mean, go check out the other freaking IPs. Is there anybody else that's freaking out? Like when we see a new patch that comes in that throws a rock stone for 1 damage on Planetside, everybody talks more about it than other game companies, I'm assuming. I don't know if they have as much of a passionate force of players that I'm including myself and Lanzer and everybody in the chat here. So it's just shocking to see this number. Go ahead, Lanzer.
It is a bit, and when I was looking at this, I'm sure that the 50% decrement to how much Daybreak earned and then how much Daybreak actually takes home their take home pay, that 50% decrease, I'm sure that caught the attention of EG7's management team. I'm sure they wanted to ask how can they help there, and some of their subsequent statements followed from that. However, if you remember, we've done a lot in the past 6 years with Planetside Arena, with a lot of. If you remember, not long ago, the Daybreak team said they really wanted to focus on building up the team to do like a cadence, consistent patches and everything. The build up to enable that means hiring people, means putting resources, means paying money before you actually start putting the content out. So
so let me clarify what you said there so I can make sure I'm on the same page with you. So you're saying this is this all years to date, or is this on the bottom it should say the year to date? Can you confirm the year?
Yeah, this is last year.
Okay, thank you. Long story short, so Planetside 2 had to hire a bunch of development work and push that margin. As soon as the game is up to par, they don't want to push that much development forces on it. And that means they're just going to be like EverQuest, where the money is going to be coming in their pockets without having to push so much development work and maintain patches and bugs, right? What were you saying?
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because it seemed pretty clear to me looking at the numbers, which is why I was mind blown, is that Planetside 2 had quite a bit of debt. It had a lot of loans it had to take out for Planetside Arena, a lot of capital, which in many cases just means deferred loans. And as a repercussion of that, in order for them to build in the future, they had a lot of loans. So that amortization, I think a lot of it it took out from the 11%, that A in the EBIT.
I'd be curious if it actually was considered a Planetside 2 EBIT, but if it is, then that makes sense. That makes
Oh, it would make sense that it's in the Planetside too, especially if they're breaking it down by game here. I
correct.
wouldn't be surprised if they're breaking the expenses down, because Planetside Arena was it did
A,
not recover its
yeah.
investment.
No.
And
They also referred that
that's
as
going to
a
hit the graph
addition
sheet
to
somewhere.
Planetside 2's a future for Planetside 3. They made that
Oh,
announcement. Yeah, so we'll just assume that until somebody clarifies that for us. We don't know the answer for that 100%.
Yeah.
We're just
I
assuming
don't know
this.
the answer. All I know is the context clues of which there are many in this presentation. It's awesome. You don't get this financial disclosure unless you have just some radical CEO in the U.S. that
Yep.
decides that, hey, we want to do that. Whereas, as you'll see here at the end, there's a legal reason why. One of the reasons why the Swedish corporation has to divulge this, being a part of the EU, which is really interesting. I wanted to read about, but that's
Let's
where
go
we
next.
are. So the next thing, this is by cohort, which is by people. So as you can see here, this is our activity, by the way. So what you can see here in this slide, slide 18, is that 65% here of the users have been a subscriber for more than 3 years. So you see down here in the bottom, 3 years, 65%. This is a record of activity. So 65% of that 25,000, was it the bookings? It's either 25 or the 200,000. 65% of them have been a part of the game for more than 3 years. And then it breaks down further from there. So you can see just automatically, we have a huge amount of the player base which has been a part of the game for a long time. And especially EverQuest. Oh gosh, you can just imagine 1999. But for Planetside, 2012. So many of us are still around. I can still think of so many people like Warbird from Merck has been around for that long. Tons of people in the Devil Dogs have been around since beta. Like those people are part of that 65% that they're talking about. The last thing I noted here is that we're the lowest here. So out of all of our users compared to everyone else, 65% is lower than everyone else. And
I'm just amazed that EverQuest is still getting new players. I'm looking at that number right now. I love EverQuest. Don't get me wrong. I've never played it. When I say I love it, I'm loving the idea that a old school game from 1999 can still be a juggernaut in today's 2020 world of gaming. Guys, go Google EverQuest and look at the graphics. And I'm not saying anything bad about graphics, but I'm a graphic enthusiast as I play on Ultra on Planetside to showcase that to you guys when I play. There are some times when I go to sweaty mode and I go potato just so I can confirm, am I killing anyone? I'm like, okay, I am. Let's go back to freaking Ultra and enjoy getting my butt kicked. I know that there is a huge amount of love for EverQuest. Every time I go to Anime Expo, E3, Comic-Con, it's just for a fact that they do an amazing job of representing. So they have a lot more love for their game, and they have so many people who dress up and cosplay as EverQuest characters.
Yeah.
But EverQuest one's making
what is it,
more
Comic-Con?
money. Yeah, Comic-Con.
You normally see an EverQuest for
That's crazy. And EverQuest 1's more popular than EverQuest 2.
Right. That was another eyebrow raiser.
What the hell?
Not for me to go into, but that was really
no.
interesting to see.
I just wanted to throw that out there so people can understand. And so and also this is another engagement I want to basically identify too, is less than 1 month, the monetization for Planetside 2 is higher than all other games here. Which you guys clapped new players in less than 3 days of them, or 1 day or 5 hours of them playing. So I guess there's something good about what Planetside doing with the updates. If their new player within 1 month are spending up to 11%, that's huge. That means they did something right. They they have given it to a point where the people who have been playing the game for 1 to 3 years are equivalent to those less than 1 month users who are buying Daybreak Cash or to do a cosmetic or buy a gun. So
Yeah.
that tells you they're doing something right. And those are the
One of the
indicators
reasons
that I
why you
want people to
see
recognize.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you see them in an earlier slide saying Daybreak has an extremely strong IP. It's not just because of the net revenue, it's also because most of our people are over 3 years. So many of us have been here for multiple years, which translates into a repeat customer. And that's one of the most valuable type of customers that a business has is a repeat customer. We have that in spades. We've been here for a long time, and that's just you can hear it in his voice as he talks about it during the video. We have a strong community, and that's one of the reasons why they went after Daybreak to ask if they wanted to join the EG7 team, not just because they had the IP, but
Right.
because they had so many dedicated people, and with that being brought into the family, just means that everyone benefits at that point. That enthusiasm becomes just infectious.
Correct.
Cool.
I just want to make sure I solve this one piece for everybody who's watching. If you guys have this issue, the number 65% means 3+ years. There's some data on the very bottom of that slide that helps you understand why the red is smaller in percentage than the other percentage numbers that you see against other games. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just gives you a value chart of saying there is a lot of new players coming to Planetside, or there's a lot of veterans leaving Planetside. We don't know really what that means. So 65.7% means that's the veteran-based pool of 3+ years individuals that have been paying for this game, and 11.2% comparable to your 3+ years. That means you're having a new accounts being made that are paying in less than 1 month. So either they're veteran players that have all been banned. I don't freaking know. But that's the current data that we have. And so it's interesting to see that there are people making new accounts and are willing to pay on those new accounts to play Planetside 2. And so take that into account. Let's go.
Yeah, and All Might George has been here for 16 years. Shout out.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the chat.
Nice job, man.
So yeah, in order for you to know whether this is trending up or down, you'd need to have all the previous months before that to make some sort of trend analysis. This is just, as you can see down here at the very bottom, third quarter of 2020. So up until September is what this data is based on. So January to September, and when they took that snapshot,
they took that from September. That wasn't even when Escalation got dropped.
Right.
And that's the new player boom that we saw. If they show that number, God, that means the less than 1 month pay would be huge. But if you think about it,
that snapshot, then
you could
compare.
That's the mark at 3 month to 12 mark, 11.6%. If you look at the quarter 3, it was quarter 2 dropped. It was a 7.8% earning at. Am I looking at that right? The percentage numbers less than 1 point. Go to the right. Sorry, right there. So that means if it was quarter 3, we're looking at a dark gray of 1 to 3 years. You're looking at light gray of 3 to 12 months, and then you're looking at 1 to 3 months. That means their quarter 3 is being reported. No, I think the 11.2% is representing last month's, which was Escalation. That is the 11.2% boom from Escalation. Yes.
No.
Isn't?
No. What this means is in September when they pulled the user activity of the, I'm going to call it, where are they? Of the 198,000 users, 65% were there for more than 3 years. 12% from 1 to 3 years. 8% from 3 to 12 months. 3.7% 1 to 3 months. And less than 1 month was approximately 10% in September.
I could have been wrong about this slide, and I apologize everybody in chat. Is this a slideshow that shows people paying, or is this a slideshow of people playing?
So right here it says bookings by user cohort. It doesn't. This is where I said the bookings thing was a little bit confusing. Here's the bookings by game, and here is the bookings net. So
it is by people paying.
I think so, but it's not exactly clear.
Let's just go with the assumption that they're paying, and then everything is for naught. But let's go to the right.
Yeah,
it's
so then you're looking
bookings.
at 25,000.
Yep.
Of the 25,000 people there paying, 65,000 or 65, over half
65.7%.
of
Yeah.
them have been there for more than 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
10% of them have been there less than a month.
Everything we've been saying has been
That was in
correct.
September.
I just want to make sure we're clarifying that correctly. And we're basically talking
Yeah.
about people, paid users. Let's go ahead, next slide. This is awesome. Thank you.
Okay. And then they do, this is great. This is great. So the next slide, slide 23, it shows you the merge, the acquisition. So Enad Global 7, EG7 acquired Daybreak. So they bought ownership. But this shows the merging of the two. You can see what the description was. We all know the description. The sales, so they are neck and neck, as you saw earlier. But combined, that means they're over $1 billion in Swedish crowns. That's that combined. And I had that number 23, slide 20. So that is $158 million you're looking at right here, US dollars. EBIT to date is 411 combined. Owned, licensed, and IP. We have 7. Enad has 11 for a total now of 18 that EG7 owns. Those are original IP. Size of IPs, I mean, AAA games. It's what Planetside is. Output channels, and the full-time equivalent, which are the people.
I don't think Planetside is considered a AAA IP, right?
I was just looking at it the other day.
If they're considered AAA, I'm mistaken. Because I remember AAA IPs, we had that talk with somebody. I'm not going to list any names, but the AAA IP should be DC Universe and I think EverQuest. If you were
okay, but if I'm wrong on that, all right.
Don't worry about it. The point is Daybreak does have AAA IPs and AA, and they've acquired them together. It's whatever is on the EG7 and Daybreak rolls, we've combined them together to the right to show you now. With EG7 acquiring Daybreak, this is the conglomerate. This is the team that we're looking at. We're getting double the influence, not losing influence over a purchase. We're doubling the influence. And why is Daybreak still alive and EG7 acquiring it? That's going to be explained later and further in the slides. So that's why it's such a benefit to see EG7 join us versus the other way around, where somebody gets purchased and you see a lot of loss, which is fantastic to see what EG7 has done. Let's keep moving.
Okay. And the full-time equivalent. So we are as big as EG7 was. They had 335. We had 311 full-time people, and now EG7 has 600. So that's a huge increase. As you can see, it's almost a doubling of EG7 with Daybreak.
Yeah, which I mean, in turn, if you guys ever think about having people work under or around you in any workforce, or if you remember in your university days, having more people, more heads in one helps you develop, increase your intelligence in every single way. Just having more heads is better than one. So they've doubled. I mean, EG7 is going to learn so much by sitting in the same room with their CEOs, COOs, CFOs, financial advisors, marketing advisors. You're going to learn so much from each other and their mistakes. Mistakes help each other grow astronomically. And to see two teams get together and not destroy each other through a purchase, but increase the value of that purchase is, I don't know if that's rare, but to me, I think it's a great thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Repicus was saying is true. As I look back in my notes, that is this is an expression of how much money they're making. Yeah, I think that's right. As I look back in my notes, I must have
it's how much they're making, because the problem I was getting mistaken for is it says on the middle right, 65% of the bookings for each game comes from players who have been playing for 3 years or more, and bookings is considered a payment. Let's keep going.
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
good correction.
I agreed with
Rapicus,
because I want to make sure this isn't
thanks,
players that don't pay a penny. This is people who pay money. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And here you have their slide 24. Our slide 21 this is the picture of EG7, and now you have Innova right about there somewhere, but you can tell that we're global. EG7 is global. You have people in Russia. You have people in Germany, Britain. That one's Finland, Sweden, and that one's Norway. Here, oh, it just says it right there. Canada, So we're everywhere now, and that's cool. That's awesome. You have, as Arshee mentioned, that means you have more brains to develop more stuff with. You have more people who can devote time to doing things.
It's just insane because now you have the ability to take advantage of every single country that you see in the space to be able to develop a game and push faster than ever before. You know all the rules and regulations thanks to that game developer in that specific state or country, and you can actually produce better content because they have gone through all those hurdles. And I know it sounds far-fetched, but that's traditionally how it works. If you hire 50% more individuals, you're going to learn a lot from them. Of course, when it comes to firing, God knows if they ever done that yet. But from what
Yeah,
we've seen, they've acquired, and that means they are keeping them employed versus seeing a complete shutdown of different services.
and they're not just keeping them employed. You know how you have all the time zones, almost all of them here represented. And I'm sure Miller Cobalt are pleased to see the introduction of a very large European group because they
Huge.
understand
I mean, the United
an
States was
Asian,
just daybreak.
European,
Look at this.
right. It's not just the American developers anymore. It's the American, Europeans, Asian, like they
But
all have their own cultures that come together that's much closer to where maybe the
but
Cobalt and Miller people are.
that doesn't mean you're going to see change right away. That is something we want to
Yeah,
make
that's
sure.
true. It doesn't.
This does not
Doesn't
mean as soon as you get basically, oh, look, there's a German-based company. That means we're going to have better German translations. No, no, no. When the time comes or they need to get something done in a specific place or learn more about that specific country, they're going to ask those questions to EG7, which has contacts that they can send in a simple Zoom call and get the information that they need quicker than having to hire someone out. That's the thing about EG7 that has been told, is that they have all the resources available to any other IPs at any given time, which is a freaking amazing thing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. It's not.
Yeah.
What it does mean is that we now have access to broader diversity, which is almost always a good thing. Almost. Broader diversity, which means that the group think that's a management thing or just a team thing, group think, like all the benefits of having such a diverse team is you're staring at it. You're looking at it right now. So I'm very happy for our Miller Cobalt people as well, because and just the expertise that we have across an entire globe, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's slide 24. And yeah, so we'll go to slide 25. So here is the year to date. Pro forma. Pro forma just means that they included in things that might not have been literally needed on a balance sheet, but things that needed to be taken into account in order to present a true picture. That's what pro forma means. Revenue and then EBIT. So we're looking at, again, gross and then net at take home. And as you can see, Daybreak is half of what EG7 was, and that's the breakout from what you saw in the last picture here with this. And then the EBIT. So I don't think I noted anything particularly here except that
You just
we're
showed
half of EG7.
you just showed EG7's acquisition total number on the left-hand side, combining the numbers that you see from Game Services, Blue Bubble, and Piranha Games. Adding that onto Daybreak shows EG7's acquisition in 2020. Then it shows EBIT, means that the total amount into their pockets is 411 on the right. And so it's not showing on the right EG7 versus Daybreak. They're not double numbers. They're acquiring on the right. Means that this is what we're seeing on the right-hand side. Comparatively with Piranha Games, Blue Bubbles, the services that you see below that, games you see below that versus naming them specific, that shows you each IP or services gives you that income number. None of them basically stood up to Daybreak. Daybreak was on its own standalone. Combining them two together is what we're seeing from EG7, which is amazing. I don't think EG7 would make the mistake of trying to cut down employment. They would try to endorse them to basically work in a better environment or have more resources to them so they can actually outperform what they did last year, which is great.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that makes me so excited about this. It's not just EG7, we switched hands again. We switched hands with someone who you can tell is a gamer, loves games, wants games to do well. And I'm not saying Columbus Nova didn't. We didn't know that though. We know a lot more about this acquisition than we have, I think,
Yeah.
that I can ever remember.
Only
Even with
because of
SOE.
maybe whatever they're going through, trying to represent it publicly. I truly appreciate it as a customer, but I'm not sure what that does to them as a company. I mean, I can't tell this would be a negative to showcase this publicly, or their competitors will take advantage of this data and try to screw them. But I don't know. But
They
overall,
might. I mean, if I was into some corporate espionage, I could look at this and start knowing who to target.
yeah.
It all depends on what it is.
But that's
With the
the thing
transparency.
that's the way they want to represent themselves, which makes me feel
Right.
like I can trust them more, which is great.
Right. Me too. With the transparency comes a risk, but clearly they think that the risk is more than the that the reward is worth more than the risk.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to see that
Robin
and take that
Floden, man,
step.
well done for your team. Great job.
Yep. So the next slide here, this is the group structure, and I want to include this because it incidentally revealed how Daybreak, what happened with Daybreak when they started breaking it out. You can see Rogue Planet Games here, off by its lonesome, and then Dark Paw, which
The
now
Italian
has.
branch says thanks,
Oh
Virgon.
yeah, I saw that.
That's awesome. I just saw that.
But
Your
please,
breath.
yeah. So Dark Paw is in control of Standing Stone and Dimensional. So I mean that's interesting. I don't know why it was done that way, and frankly, for what we're talking about here, I didn't really need to know. But in terms of Gee Whiz, it's just really intriguing to see how the pieces fit together. So yeah, Rogue Planet, part of Daybreak, part of ENAG Global 7, which is now officially, as of last week, I believe, they changed their name to EG7 outright. So it's no longer just ENAG Global 7, it's EG7.
Nice. And so, just to confirm, I mean, we can Google it all later. Dark Paw is, what IPs do they own? Just to make sure we give some love.
Dark Paw is that's where EverQuest is.
Okay, and the Standing Stone Games LLC.
I think so.
There's like
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
One's working on each, and we know Rogue Planet works on Planetside too. That's where all of my energy
Yeah.
and time has been. You guys all know that. But the rest of the Daybreak Games studios, as soon as I start playing, I'll know exactly who they're from.
I don't know. If anyone wants to look that up and tell us, does Dimensional Eke have DCU and Standing Stone has EverQuest? Whichever one is in LOTR, I think is in Needham, Massachusetts. So that one is, I think that one's Dimensional Eke Inc. And then San Antonio or Dallas area was Standing Stone, which I think is
Dark Paw
both.
Games is going to be EverQuest. I just googled that real quick, and then we got Standing Stone
awesome.
Games LLC is going to be your Lord of the Rings Online Dungeons and Dragons, and then you got Dimensional. Okay. I'm assuming this is going to be DC, of course. Dimensional Inc. is going to be your DC universe and unannounced projects. They have a lot of unannounced ones coming up.
Yeah, there are a lot of unannounced projects.
This is awesome.
Over 10 of them. So.
Thank you.
Good to know.
I just want to make sure I give some love over to Daybreak companies.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, ENAD Global, EG7. I mean, we can list them all out, but we'll keep going on the slides and help us understand more about them because they're new to us in our eyes. I don't want to give any misinformation from them. Let's go.
Yeah. Pro forma income statement. Now we start getting into the nerd stuff. The sort of thing that you would look at and just your eyes might glaze over. That's okay. Mine does too. It doesn't get any better even if I know how to read some of it. I definitely had to Google other stuff because I don't normally look at income statements. So I had to learn. Pick up, dust off my old.
I'll be asking a lot of questions so we can clarify that.
Yeah.
So
the thing that I honed in on is here, this number, 436. I mentioned earlier that I thought that
the depreciation and amortization. Are you talking about the negative 436 number?
I thought they had a lot of loans. And that was confirmed later in the risk slides, but here on the balance sheet, it seems to tell me, and it doesn't tell you what it is, so you never really know for sure. But what you can infer from this is that either they have a lot of assets that are depreciating really fast, which makes sense because they have a game from 1999, EverQuest. So a lot of that stuff, I'm sure, is gone down in value to some degree. But then when I kept reading more and more into it, it became apparent that it was the amortization. So that word right there, goodwill, that's the key word that really revealed it. So 436 amortization tells me that there is quite a bit of loans that they're repaying, so a lot of debt. And when you read the press statement later on down in the bottom, it talks about that, how the cash-free, debt-free basis, and how EG7 ended up paying off the debt, the slate clean for Daybreak, so that they could start anew. And that was part of the agreement, was that EG7 would pay off the debt. And that when I read that, I breathed a huge sigh of relief because we knew what Planetside Arena was. We knew that it didn't work out the way people thought it would. The debt behind that was enormous. You could see it. Not you didn't have to do the numbers, and you knew that the debt there was enormous. And they had been carrying that debt forward, trying to pay it down with their how many million? 7 million from Planetside, but they had to then make the hard decision of covering it from other like EverQuest, Lotro. This acquisition just took all that away. It took that huge load off of their shoulders so that they might still have debt, maybe, but the rap sheet here tells me that most, if not all, that debt was eviscerated in the process of becoming EG7. And what that means for you, for us, is that Daybreak leadership and the developers now can focus on things that matter core to the gameplay. It takes away that variable that says, "Oh, we have to do this much better so that we can repay back our loans." Which means that, Rel might be asked to work even longer hours or make an unhealthy decision or that he doesn't want to compromise on, but he has to because that's business. Gaming is a business as well. So those are the sort of day-to-day decisions that this number represents. It always comes down to you somehow, the player, because you are affected by the team that develops it. The team that develops it is affected by the business leadership, and the business leadership is affected by the decisions that must be made to remain a business that makes money. And that's just the reality of it. That's the reality of it. So huge, awesome. It reveals where the problem occurs. I think in this rap sheet, it's not because they're not making money. It's because their money is going back to repaying loans.
Yeah. So
So
let me just clarify this number. Negative 436 is. Let me clarify the meaning of amortization. If you guys don't know it, I'm reading directly from Google. It's the action or process of gradually writing off the initial cost of an asset, the action or process of reducing or paying off debt with regular payments, a period in which debt is reduced or paid off by regular payments. And here's an example. 75% of mortgages have an amortization of 25 years or less, is the quote of explaining what amortization is. Let me ask Lanzer if he knows this. Of course, he's not a financial advisor. That's why we're saying this. We're all learning this together with each other. You're saying negative 436 means these are loans and payments that Daybreak owns that are over 5 years. So it says goodwill amortized. It says on the top somewhere. Goodwill is
goodwill
amortized
means
over
something
5
different
years.
as well, though.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
what I want to
but
confirm what
you're
the heck
hitting it.
that means. So all these are over 5 years, or goodwill is amortized over 5 years? Help me understand what that means.
So goodwill is something different, and I had to Google this because
I've
I'd
no
heard
idea.
of
Again,
in-kind stuff and
yeah.
like nonprofit, but goodwill is it is an intangible assessment of value. So whereas you can get something like your house, you can get it appraised at $500,000, but if you end up getting $600,000, that extra 100,000 that someone just said, that looks like, it looks like it's in a good location and all the stuff that the appraised value doesn't take into account, that's goodwill. That's the intangible, the qualitative assessment of value. So in this case, what the 436 bought down was that EG7 assessed that, and this is where the IP thing comes into play, I'm almost sure of it, is that EG7 looked at the rap sheet and said, you have a lot of debt. We get it. We understand why. but we strongly value these IPs. And they said that in many slides before. Your community is really strong. You have over half your people are from over 3 years repeat customers, and you own outright a lot of your original IPs. We think that even though the appraised value, which takes into account your debt, by the way, which is going to knock it down considerably because of Planetside Arena and all the thing else they had to do, and H1Z1, we think it's also worth this much more than what our accountants appraise it as. That's what goodwill is. Goodwill is that difference between what you can prove quantitatively and what you think qualitatively.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that makes sense. I can explain it.
No, it makes total sense. I gotta know. Thank you, chat. If anybody have any questions about that, we can go more in depth on it. But if nobody says anything in chat, then we'll keep going forward. I'll wait until
and I don't know
chat,
everything.
But go ahead. Let's
I don't know everything.
Let's assume everybody actually understands it until somebody says anything more in depth on it. Let's go.
So to me, that's a sort of financial disclosure that that really just it clicked in my brain that now I get it. Now I get some of the hard decisions that Jason and G Ham were faced all these years trying to manage Daybreak, trying to keep it profitable while producing for the community, and they had to make hard decisions. And you don't get to just shy away from those decisions when you own a business like that. You have to make them. Yes or no. Are we going to do it? Or are we not going to do it? And to remain profitable for as long as they did really shows to the capability for them to manage that humongous amount of stress that they found themselves in out. EG7 came and said, hey, we see what you're worth. We know what you're worth, even if the Ernst & Young appraises it a little bit lower than what we really think you are. And I'm sure Jason's like, yeah, look, we value this. Planetside 2 broke a Guinness World Record just by its community. Like, we have a huge passion, not just for the games, but the people who play the games. And that is where that's what you see when you see this number and you delve into it and like, oh my gosh,
I got too excited. I was about to say
I'm nerding out, but yeah, you can see it. You can see the decision just in what that little number represents. And of course, I might be wrong about some of it. I can only infer what I know based on what I read. But based on what I've seen, based on what I've experienced in my own life, that's what it tells me.
Well said. Let's go to the next slide.
Pro forma. All right, so the risk factors. I'm going to be completely honest, all right? The risk factors is the reason why I did this, this whole presentation.
Yeah.
When I read the risk factors, it would be an understatement to say that my jaw dropped. I would never have ever been able to read this unless you're a key part of the Berkshire Hathaway talks about some of their risks.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I sat down with Lanzer and he gave me a summary of what he wanted to do with me on stream. I never got to the risk factors. I agreed on it the moment I saw those slides and those PowerPoint presentations to help us understand more about Planetside 2, equivalent to all the other IPs. And I said, let's go for it. The rest of it, I'm assuming, is just more juicy data. So this is the first time I'm listening to it. So let's go ahead. Lanzer, tell me what's going on with those risk factors.
The risk factors. Let me tell you something about the risk factors. Without the numbers, you could tell everything. You could hear everything I just said by reading the risk factors. You don't even have to know the numbers. The risk factors are so transparent. I can't believe they let it through. But I'm so glad they did. Because when you read these things, you get the sense that not only do they understand what business they're in.
Because the text is so small, so I'm just going to make it bigger.
What's that?
I'm just going to make the risk factors bigger for now. We're going to cover ourselves.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want them to be able to read that. Go ahead.
I want you to be able to read it too, honestly. And you can. These slide numbers here down at the bottom, the same corresponding slide numbers as if you download it right now. So I highlighted the most important bits, but this is leaving out a lot. There are a lot of risk factors. I only have, I think, maybe 10 or so. There are 30, 40 of them, and I read all of them because it tells you what problems they're facing. It tells you why they're facing the problems. It tells you who is facing the problem. It tells you about Steam. You know they have a problem with Steam. I wouldn't say problem. They have challenges the way Steam operates because they tell you in these risk factors.
Yep. Let's go ahead and just dive in. Tell me more about the risk factors.
So risk factors right away. I mentioned Steam. Here it is. This risk factor tells you the company is dependent on a few important distribution channels for its game titles. And the explanation here is talking about how Steam is a digital platform. It's a delivery system. The reporting that Steam gives us is very limited. It's not as robust as we want. It didn't go into too much detail after that. What it tells you is that either they were looking for sales data or they're looking for or activity levels, and they weren't getting the discrete numbers they were looking for. Maybe they needed it broken down into ages 18 and 25, and Steam's reporting wouldn't let them do that or wasn't able to do that. That's the sort of stuff that it's talking about here, is that they see this as a risk, that they don't have enough in-house distribution, which is what they solved with getting Sold Out. That was one of the reasons why they bought Sold Out, to mitigate this risk. And here in the very middle, buried, the company also relies on the financial information provided by the digital distributors. So Steam. They can only report what Steam gives them. So they have no way to actually see the data for themselves and know how to parse it out to get the stuff that they need. They have to trust that Steam is giving them the accounting sheets that reflect everything that EG7 needs for its own reporting. So that was really cool to read. The second risk, the company relies on its ability to retain and attract new players as well as on a good reputation within the gaming industry. So on its face, that doesn't sound very surprising. That's a risk that almost everybody faces. The part that I keyed in on was the first sentence. Development in the game industry is largely driven by demand and requires requirements from end users, game developers, and publishers. The company is, within its core business, mainly focused on producing and selling action and hardcore games within the RPG genre globally. That just told you their strategic direction. The company, as its core business, focuses on producing and selling action and hardcore games within the RPG genre globally. Later on, they talk about how unsatisfied players, low scores, poor reviews impact the company's ability to retain and attract new players. Not a surprise, we all know that. As well as to decline in reputation among players and other game developers. This may lead to a reduced revenue due to reduction in sales, reduction in purchases, difficulties in entering in collaborative agreements with other game developers. So, what they're saying there is that if we don't do well, if we get a low Metacritic score, if we get low sales reporting, if we get a bad reputation, then our ability to make deals, to make acquisitions, like we did with Gabrake, will decrease commiserately. So, jeez, these are the big guns. Whenever you look at this, is the sort of thing that EG7 would have been looking at Daybreak, and Daybreak looking at EG7. Why should we join you? What are the risks in joining you? What's the what could fail here? They're telling you here what can fail. Ugh, I'm a nerd. I'm nerding out. I'm nerding
No
out.
worries, man.
So
Keep
that was
going.
the
I'm
first
waiting
side.
for my questions at the very end.
Yeah. So the company is dependent. What else? All right. So the next slide. Risks related to the COVID-19 pandemic. It says that measures put in place by governments worldwide have resulted in significant disruption to the economies relevant for the company. They mentioned in their annual report that they just released last week that COVID has had a net neutral effect on their company. So that has since been answered. That risk has been mitigated. Whatever they did to mitigate it, they were successful. So they weren't impacted by COVID like others were. Okay. Next up. Risk related to goodwill. The company is subject to valuation and accounting risks in relation to other assets such as game products, licenses, capitalized risks. Expenses for game and technology development are only capitalized when it is possible to make an assessment of the commercial potential of the product. The valuation of capitalized expenses for the game and technology development thus requires the company's senior management to make a number of estimates, including the possibility for the project to generate future revenue. That is dynamite.
You want to clarify what you just read?
What? Okay.
or summarize?
I wrote it. I wrote it down just to make sure that I got it. uh, accounting risks. Where are you? Okay, so what this tells you is that the people at the top, they have to make educated guesses about how well something is going to do before it does it. And you can probably have guessed that. But what this says is that the valuation of an expense or investment, in this case, say Planetside 3, the valuation of Planetside 3 thus requires the company's senior management to make estimates, educated guesses about how well it's going to do. And this, how well they're able to make those guesses, is the reason or the ability for them to do it in the first place. So it's almost like a chicken and egg thing we've got going on here. We have to estimate that it's going to do well in order for us to try and do it. So, and the better we can report that, the better we can guesstimate that this is going to do well, the more we can do it. They just revealed the ingredients to high-level decision making about Planetside 3 is a go or no go before it even gets to Rel. EG7 saying we want to do H1Z1. We don't want to do H1Z1. They're making that video that happened about a week and a half ago where they mentioned a lot of H1Z1. He talked about how their team looked into it. This is what that is. They're looking into it to see, does the IP, is it still really strong? Do we think it's going to do well? And at the end of the video, he said, we're looking for someone to take it over. They would not have made that decision if they had come to the conclusion that it wasn't strong, that we don't think it's going to do well. That's what that sentence means. You're talking about Planetside 3 here, is what that means. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. And Rel already spoke to that many times to Deeg, A-Flake, Shockdoor. So I'm not going to speak on that. But what that does mean is that when you try to decide how well something's going to happen, or even a future upgrade to Planetside 2, this is the sort of thinking that takes place beforehand. You have to prove it. Prove to me that it's going to do well. And then I have to take on the risk as that senior leader to say, all right, we'll see if it happens that way. And if it doesn't, then they eat it. The senior leadership, they have to eat that, like they did with Planetside Arena. So in some cases you're right, in some cases you're wrong. And the more accurate data you have to project how well something's going to do, then you're probably right more often.
How many I'm not trying to pin anything on you. I'm just asking you a personal question. How many game companies do you know that don't do this behavior? Is this unique to EG7 and Daybreak, or did Daybreak do this before EG7?
No, it's not unique. But I used to own my own gaming company, so so it's not that it's unique. It tells you how it's being factored in to the minds of Robin Floden, to the mind of Jason Epstein, to the mind of G. Ham, to the mind of Andy Seitz, who now has departed the company. It tells you what they're thinking. This tells you what you need to know about the people running this company, the people running Planetside 2. It's like Rel coming onto Shockdoor's stream or your stream and saying, here's what I'm thinking. This is what that is. But for the highest level of EG7. So it's not that it's unique to EG7. It's that this is what they value. This is what they value. You're exactly right. And based on what they're valuing, that's what they're going to decide on.
I just want to make sure that your interpretation of it wasn't specific to EG7 being a public entity. It's is what they value and their risk factors and how they assess making games and how they move forward on it. Of course, it talks about how the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us know how much that screwed up the economy, but they put that in there as a risk factor related to what happened. So you guys can read all this at your own pace. The highlighted events are what I asked Lanzer to specify to making sure it's directed towards Planetside 2. We can go through everything.
Right.
And this would take a longer presentation. So thank you, Lanzer, for summarizing it.
When it comes to this sort of thing, yeah, absolutely. When it comes to this sort of thing, in quantifiable terms, we're talking about beta signups. We're talking about beta reviews. We're talking about early ratings. We're talking about number of backers on a Kickstarter. Anything that Planetside does, the responses, the number of comments, the number of upvotes, did it make it to /R like it did for Record Smash? That sort of data point is the sort of data that goes into a report saying this is look like it's going to be a positive thing. Here's why.
I guess
It's all based on a calculus of some sort, and I do
Right.
that stuff all the time in my own job as well.
Is in your
And I
opinion,
use that
Lanzer,
stuff.
do you think every game company is doing this, or are you happy that they're mimicking other game companies? I'm not sure
I
exactly.
can't speak to whether or not that every game company is doing it. The real answer is they're doing it to the extent that their leadership does it.
Cool. That's all I'm going to clarify.
Some of them may not be doing it. Some of them don't need to do it. The larger they are, especially the public, EG7 is a public company. They are most definitely doing it.
So
They
what I'm
probably have
hearing
their own
is
risk mitigation team.
what I'm hearing is that they're giving people who understand the game, who are part of the industry, to make decisions to then see that value chain, to then give them the income they need to work. That's why they said the IP, Rogue Planet Games, it's in that 14-minute video. Rogue Planet
Yeah.
will manage Planetside 2, and their community manager will manage us, Mithril. It's good to see you. Welcome to Planetside 2. And looking forward to seeing more of you out there. Thanks so much for basically posting on the forums. If you guys don't know, we have a new community manager called Mithril. You can Google his name. You'll see him on the Planetside 2 forums answering questions as fast as he possibly can. Take your time. There's lots of us all here to support you. And so ask us any questions if you need. And if not, keep up the good work. And
yeah.
that's what
So as Worth said, yes.
That's what Robin
What is
Floden
special about this case?
said it, yeah.
It's when you upvote something on the subreddit, when you give a 5-star review or a 1-star review, when you cancel your membership, those analytics, that data point factors into everyone else doing the same thing. That then tells a story to Rel, to whoever Andy Seitz' replacement will be, to
Andy
G
Seitz's
Ham.
replacement at the moment is Chris and Rel. They're currently
thank you.
the head of RPG.
Right, thank you.
Mhm.
To Chris, to Jason Epstein, to Robin Floden. It tells them, it moves the needle. Good decision, bad decision. Smart move, too risky. That's what it means to you. That's what it means to me. So every company does that. Not every company does it well. And the ones who fail, kind of speak for themselves. So yes, you're right. Every company can, maybe should, does do it. But to me, that it doesn't underlie what I'm reading here. It doesn't really help with that.
Awesome.
It's not worthless. Definitely not worthless.
No, well, I mean, he was explaining earlier about he's more specific on he wants to see new factors being applied instead of mimicking top companies out in their own world. So don't worry about that. Keep going.
Okay.
Don't worry about it in chat.
All right. So then that was,
let me move
the
us back
dynamite
again.
stuff that I.
Give me a second,
What's
chat.
that?
I'm going to move the slides again so we can be repositioned again.
Yeah.
All
no problem.
right.
So
there's some slides that were
cut it
just
off there.
too small, so I had to make it larger. Go ahead.
No problem. I cut it off there, and there are so many more risk lines, so many more, and it's just a treasure trove of data. Please look at it if you're interested in knowing who our new partners are at EG7 and who our community is. This slide right here, the thing that was bugging me when I was going through all this is, why are they telling me this? It's not just like, what reason do they have? Is, why am I able to see this? Why am I allowed to see the stuff that I'm seeing? Because you don't see this many other places. There are a lot of prospectuses you read, has a lot of data, but not to the level that I'm seeing here. So I looked in the press statement, which is what this is. There's a section called responsible parties, and in it, it talks about information released obligated to make public pursuant to EU Market Abuse Regulation 596/2014. So I looked that up, and sure enough, because Sweden is a part of the EU has this regulation that has significant increase in financial disclosure. So that's the reason why the market share, the how many shares that Jason Epstein got out of this deal, how many shares that were created, and how much that was worth. All the things that tell you how ownership is derived and how it's exchanged, how the the management is
We're,
put
we're
together.
we're fairly lucky to know that they still own shares to EG7 being an acquisition. That means we still have them interested in this new transition to EG7. We have the top players of Daybreak working together with the top players of EG7. So
Yeah, well, it goes a step further. The acquisition, it was an acquisition, so with that, not a merger. So what that means is that EG7 bought all ownership shares of Daybreak.
yeah,
And in the report that they released last week, it showed you the table of how many shares they bought. It shows EG7 is the CEO, the president, the owner of Daybreak. Jason Epstein was then given shares of EG7 to the point where he became, and he was on the board now. So Jason is now EG7. Daybreak is now owned by EG7, of which Jason runs EG7 now with Floden and the rest of the board. So it was really interesting to see how that exchanged. And because of this market regulation by the EU, I got to see how that deal played out. So that was cool.
well said. And so let me clarify one thing. The public pursuant of EU Market Abuse Regulations 596/2014. Does that mean that if this didn't exist, they wouldn't be as transparent? Or are they being more transparent on top of this? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I started reading into it because I wanted to know how much they're supposed to. So it's pretty comprehensive. It says you have to really, and I used Skaden.com because I couldn't find the actual regulation,
I'm going to
but
bring it up too as well right
Skaden.com had a
here. Go
pretty
ahead.
good regulation explanation, and it talks about the extent to which if you exchange ownership, you have to divulge how much to whom and what the value was. So to me, that's pretty extensive. And but what I'm seeing here, based on my limited understanding of this regulation, it seems to go above and beyond that. So without it, EG7 might not have given me as much, although you have to take into account that leadership can put out whatever they want. They can put out more, they can put out less. The question is what are you required to put out? And in many cases, American companies put out the bare minimum, although that's increasing with the differing generation, the generational management. But
So
it
just
seems
to
that they
clarify,
are.
just to make sure you don't know this answer and you don't know this question, EU Market Abuse Regulations 596, is it everything that you've seen in these slides and the presentations and YouTube videos that they're pushing out is a EU market abuse regulation, or is this, again, we're not financial advisors, anything like that. Do you know that if that answer, or you say I don't know the answer? And let somebody else answer that
I'm not
question.
sure I understood what you were asking me. That
Everything in this presentation, all the transparency that we're seeing here, EG7 coming out and giving out all that data as far as financials to what they're looking forward to next, coming out publicly, is that an EU market abuse regulation that they have to follow, or are they being more transparent on top of this?
they're being more transparent on top of it. I don't think they were required to divulge the user activity. I don't think they were required to divulge the profitability of Planetside 2. I think they were required to divulge the EBIT, the DA that we talked about, that iStore here, the pro forma income statement. They had to divulge that, and there were a lot of other slides that I didn't include here, but to include
Oh yeah, there's
the
a
share
ton of
ratio.
slides, guys. Remember, he shaved
Yeah,
almost
there's so many.
80% of this data. We'll give you those links afterwards. You guys can always contact Lanzer more about it via DM on Discord. He'll give you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
But I
So
just
anything
wanted to
that had to do
clarify
with
to anybody in chat that
numbers.
has that question. Thanks for your patience, guys. We don't know all the answers. That's why we're making that question known to the public here, that they can answer publicly if they wish, to help us understand that they are more transparent on top of this regulation because they see the benefit of what the EU Market Abuse Regulation Act has came about, and they're saying, hey, we're already this public about it. Why not do extra? That's what I would do. To say, I don't want to just be the regulation level. I want to be more. And I'm assuming EG7 did that as a good company would do. Let's go ahead.
Right. And as Jet mentioned in chat, he was probably reading the report that was just released last week. It shows the ownership, and something that I noted that was really interesting is that Jason Epstein from Daybreak owns more stock shares than Robin Floden does, the CEO of
Yeah,
EG7.
and the
So that's
EG7
pretty interesting to
acquired it.
look at.
It's interesting, yeah, right.
Yeah,
It could,
super interesting.
yeah. The point
That
is
tells me that Robin has a certain degree of what was the
respect,
word?
trust,
Yes, has a certain degree of trust.
education, knowledge that he's
Hmm.
excited to have Jason a part of the team versus
Right,
buying
that's
shares
exactly right.
outright.
He was
Yeah.
willing to let go of that much ownership to bring Daybreak into the EG7
Yeah.
family so that they could do all the great things that they want to do.
From the talks
And
I've had with the
that's
head,
powerful.
the head to being at Daybreak, these are very intelligent individuals. And
Yeah,
when I
they
stopped
are.
by and actually
They
met Rel in person, you can see that behavior in house versus what you see on stream. He's on stream. He's more open to enjoying gamer words and stuff. But you can understand that this guy actually is hanging out with very highly intelligent people, and he's representing that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You said it. You said it really good.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so excited about this stuff. It's the numbers paint a very good picture for us. And in this slide here, here's it boiling down to what I think's about to happen next. And some of it's already playing out, by the way. So within the next 6 months, and this was us talking maybe a month or two ago, I expected that Daybreak's team is going to increase substantially. They're hiring new positions, filling niche responsibilities that they couldn't fill beforehand, temporary positions. That's already happening. If you looked on LinkedIn, they have 21 positions open. Half of them are PS2 related. So that's designers, that's artists, that's engineers, and the community manager that Mithril is now just took. So the team is growing. And this was, I think we did this, I think in March when we constructed this, Arshee, you and I. So
Mhm.
that was me predicting then, 6 months from now, what was going to happen. And here we are in May. The team is already,
So
they are hammering it out in the HR department.
just to confirm, Daybreak's increase in PS2 team size. Right now,
Yeah.
you told me like almost last week ago, how many new jobs are available to him? 32? I'm not sure. What was it?
As of yesterday, 21.
21. Okay. I don't know where the 32 came from. 21 extra additional jobs on top of them hiring the community manager, which is huge. And hiring the new former temporary positions to full nation responsibilities. And that means they're getting their IP full decked out, ready to go for newer editions. Now,
Yeah.
we'll talk about.
They've been talking a lot about content cadence. Robin talked about it a lot. Rel talks about it. But consistent patches, upgrades, updates. That's the content cadence. They've been talking about that being the key to growth all the time, everywhere. And this is how they do that. And so that's pretty cool.
Love
A
it.
bigger team. Within the next 8 months, I expect that Petrol and Sold Out will start integrating themselves into the Planetside 2 operation. As you know, Petrol is a behemoth when it comes to marketing, putting the game in front of the user's eyeballs so that they know that they should buy it. They're on our team now.
I'm gonna be a little selfish or biased here. I don't understand, which I would love to learn why. If there is ever any chance to learn why that Daybreak now, if Petrol shows up, they didn't take advantage of Twitch and taking advantage of live streaming platforms and their gaming industries. And I saw that they recently brought in 3 new individuals to play Commander Sirius, worked with them directly.
Yeah, the
More
late
of
shift.
that, or having Twitch drops for Planetside 2 streamers. Again, I said I'm biased because I'm a Twitch streamer. But the
Yeah,
point is, it
you're allowed to be.
does influence a market of players to see the game through their eyes. But if Petrol believes in a different market strategy, I am extremely excited to see what they're thinking of. And so
Yeah.
that's going to be something I have my eyes on. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. And that's my hope that we all benefit from that. Archie, to include you, to include Commander Sirius, Deeg,
Kamikaze, Dig,
Shock
Shock
Tour,
Tour,
A-Flit,
yeah.
Kamikaze. Like, there are so many content creators that
Mofker Live,
yeah,
Jettles,
exactly.
Twitch,
Like, my
Jason
hope is that this is
Kane,
a
Lanzer.
yeah. I'm excited for this. Petrol is a Goliath. when it comes to
Mayan,
increasing
100%
exposure.
Mayan. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm an idiot. I should have said that. Yes. Sweetheart.
Yeah, Mayan. Thank you.
Yes. Jesus. why
Chuck
didn't I say
Baller.
that earlier? Chuck Baller. I mean, we can just do this
He
for all
streams
day.
all the time.
Chuck Baller, I love him to death.
And Zulfer, he was our third
That's true.
streamcaster.
That's true.
Zulfer streams a lot too. Like
The
the list
Salamander.
just goes on
Salamander.
and on.
Football
Lepolos.
Clash. Lepolos. Orbit. Okay, no more.
We could
Let's
just
go
go all
Let's keep
day.
going. Or Rel. I mean, Rel streams too. Son of a.
Rusty from the Devil Dogs.
That's
he
true.
streams a lot too.
Okay, let's go back on topic. Let's go.
Yeah. So
Ryan PS2.
I think
there
that
he
in the
is.
next 8 months, Petrol and Sold Out will figure out with EG7's direction and guidance and how that relationship is managed, because that's where it has to be adjudicated first, is at that level. But once that gets figured out, I think in the next 8 months, Petrol and Sold Out are going to start helping us out. Petrol is going to start helping increasing the exposure. Sold Out's going to start helping with the distribution and putting games in front of people to buy. Or getting games to people when they buy it. And for Steam people, that won't mean much to them, but for PS4, it will. So I'm looking at a steady increase in publicity and a surge of new players for the PC and PS4 across all servers. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, that's the next one. Never mind. But a surge in player registrations across all servers.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing how they're gonna integrate the new player experience, because I think that's when Planetside 2 is gonna explode.
Right, me too.
But they're doing a great job. I mean, you saw a simple little. I mean, to me, it's not simple because it would have been done years ago. But seeing that line to help you identify how to get inside of the containment site is an example of future implementations to help new players understand these large bases that exist in Planetside. Even me today, going to Hassan's bases that are right outside of the warp gate are brand new to me. I haven't seen them because I'm just sitting here all day casting. But they're expansive and they're insanely difficult to understand.
Yeah, I plan on talking about that in the coming weeks, now that I figured out how to fix my stream. But I'm putting together some slide presentation on that sort of stuff, like the Reddit post I made not long ago about what I would do day one of being community manager, which now Mithril is. And like I said to him, like I messaged him, I feel zero negativity. We all win with Mithril here.
Yep.
All of us win. Please let me help, man. I've been in this game since beta. I've been organizing. Like I want to help make this game bigger, better. So please let me help.
Awesome.
So there's that. And in the next 1 to 2 years, that's when I think that the strategic partnership with all the other EG7 elements will start funneling into Planetside 2. That's Toadman, Work for Hire, Antimatter's Work for Hire, Piranha Games, Innova, their MMO experience, to start augmenting the PS2 team. I don't know what that looks like, and I'm not saying that in terms of like treading on Rel or anybody else. They will be benefited somehow through this partnership, and strategic partnerships like this, where EG7 owns everybody, and then everybody else is going to work together. The way that works out is going to benefit everybody in the end. So that's looking at like small to medium patches at more regular intervals, probably even larger patches at regular intervals.
Now,
because they now have more people.
Not to be a cop out and always basically have something to step back on to say, oops, we made a mistake between me and Lanzer. From the information provided, that's the only logical explanation that me and Lanzer had. And then we thought, is this a huge benefit to Planetside? We should probably bring it out into a presentation here. And if it doesn't turn out that they put the funding towards Planetside, they do it for H1Z1, again, they need to basically work on those debts. You know, they have their own reasons for their choices and what they wish to
exactly.
do. So
we're not here to say, made that very clear.
We're not here to say we are a part of EG7 Daybreak Rogue Planet. If you're watching the stream midway through, we don't work for them, and we're not associated in any way, shape, or form. We're looking at the data and coming up with what we believe, our thoughts on what happens next. So go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for that disclaimer. As we mentioned in the very beginning, we're not financial advisors. We're not legal. We're not a part of Daybreak, Rogue Planet Games. Yeah. We are fans. Yeah. We're fans that love the game. We pay attention to what's happening, and we want to grow the community. We want the player base to grow. We want the activity to grow. We want more fun, and that's why I'm here. and I know that's why a lot of us are here.
Yeah.
So we're looking at what I expect to happen is when that augmentation starts happening, however that's going to happen, if that's going to happen, but I anticipate it will, even if it takes a year, that major upgrades will happen sooner because they'll be able to farm out that low risk work to more people, thereby giving Rel or whoever else more bandwidth to focus on the most key tasks to getting those upgrades out.
The funny thing is about the rising average count of Miller and Cobalt based players? They're actually more than Connery.
Yeah.
And we're on Connery, you and I. And so
well, I don't expect it to get any better for us in Connery.
Right, because it's like they have European freaking IPs supporting them. And so
right now
that's the whole reason why we said rising average counts for Miller and Cobalt. We're like, no, come to Connery.
Yeah, I know. As much as I want them to, I'm excited for the Miller Cobalt people because now that they have all 6 to 7 studio developers in your region of the world, I can't imagine that won't be a benefit to you in some way, whether it be advice that's tailored or development that's tailored to you. I'm sure that there's going to be a benefit there, and the benefit I expect is to see a rising average player count of Miller and Cobalt.
I'm just looking at the idea of a global map. If you guys look at it, Emerald is US East, so that means it hits more states, countries along the eastern border, while US West is like where California meets the end, and you see Alaska, then Hawaii, and anything to the western end. Look at that map real quick. And so I'm assuming, based on US West, not many people play Planetside 2 west of the United States, having contact with that, while the eastern border you
now
go
Soltech,
to and so it's like Soltech's got their own Asian portfolio, so if Asia didn't exist, they would be on US West, I feel like it, versus US East.
they were when it left after Briggs, I think.
So that's an example of why US West has lower numbers compared to Emerald, in my opinion,
Briggs people,
based on ping issues and stuff and server. But go ahead, continue.
So that's what I think is going to happen next, and could be completely wrong. Honestly, it could be completely wrong.
Yeah, but we're just
there could be different
hopeful.
Things that come into play. There could just be stuff that I wasn't seeing or I misread.
To summarize the experience for anybody who's watching this that doesn't know anything about Planetside, and you're wondering why these slides are us thinking about what happens next for an IP specific versus talking about EverQuest. I shoutcast for Planetside 2. I organized a ton of efforts with community members that you see in chat right now, like Salamander, who did work with European communities on Cobalt, as well as many other organizers like Lanzer himself on Connery. And there's just so much that I do in a outside of gameplay mechanic for Planetside. I haven't done it for other IPs. We're not disrespecting your game. We're here just to talk about Planetside specific because that's what we only know. And the moment that we go into talk about why is Planetside such a fun game, it's a massive multiplayer online game. It has 900 players battling it out amongst each other. 300 versus steroids. 300 versus 300. I would say Battlefield on steroids, not Call of Duty.
No, that's probably fair. Battlefield on steroids.
That's just my opinion of this is an insane game. It is not easy for the new player. The new player is coming into veteran-based players that know how to fly an ESF, which is a Empire-specific fighter, which you'll see. It looks like the Scythe or Mosquito or the Reaver that has the 3 air vehicles on top. It's got mouse acceleration on the damn mouse. And any new player who tries to play this damn game with that mouse accelerator starts to rage quit and throw their mouse out the window. So it's extremely high skill ceiling for new players to even try the air game. And so the new player experience is having a tough time with some of those features. But if those are ironed out and helped you understand you are playing against the best of the best, or found a way to get new players to be integrated sooner versus getting clapped all day, imagine you decide to play Apex or any other game. If it didn't have match-based findings, that's what Planetside is. You have no match-based findings. You're playing against...
Yeah, it's a persistent, continuous universe.
You're playing against Radiant-based ranked players. You're playing against the top of the best, top of the top farmers. I mean, anything you can imagine in this worldwide game. So it's an incredible game. Still has potential. I don't think the potential has been lost. I think it's just growing, and that's my true opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah.
For all you veterans out there,
Stop clapping, people. Just kidding.
For all you veterans out there, when you enter into this game, you are entering into the chaos of war. It is all aspects of modern warfare, to air, ground, vehicle, spec ops, like you name it. The game offers you all these tools that you see in other games, but then you decide how to implement it through a game that never stops. And that could be very overwhelming. But if you think about it in terms of getting onto the battlefield and learning, okay, I have my vehicles, I have my tanks. I know what a tank is. I have my air. I know what a fighter plane is. I have my infantry. I know what a shotgun is. Uh, when you start looking at it in terms of that, then you look at the map and say, okay, how do I use these tools to take this territory from make it red to blue, or from purple to red? How do I take that? How do I do that? And that's what the veterans have learned over the years. So it can be overwhelming, definitely. I understand that. There's so much to it, just like life. There's so much to it. But once you do figure out what's happening, I think you're really going to enjoy it.
I agree. I also don't think new players should have access to all the tools.
I agree with that.
I know some people are saying construction. I don't want a new player coming in and playing Minecraft. I want them to already get into the base, and that's my opinion. Again, you guys can all basically deny or take it away. There's so many ways you can play this game, of course, but the idea of the vast information that you get when you log in is just overwhelming for a new player.
It is.
Go play Minecraft and you'll understand what I mean, but instead have a Banshee mosquito always above you when you log in and try to build a house, or try to basically go to a dungeon with a stalker cloaker constantly knifing you while you're trying to go into a farming mode. So
and that's the chaos of war, baby. That's the chaos of war. You do things and people do things too.
I don't know.
And sometimes they do things to you that you don't want them to do. Yeah. I'm trying to build a base. I'm trying to put my wall down. Leave me alone with your accordion bomb and your 24 people dropping on me from a galaxy. Like, come on. Come on.
Well, they don't know that. The problem is every single player will never know who they're killing until they complain on Reddit. And so
right.
That's
and just remember, like, we're people too. Like, the saltiest of vets, it's coming from a place of they're frustrated. They want something to be better. They wish something was something else, but they care. Like, there are so many people who care, and the metrics show that. So, just you're in for a ride if you're into this game for the first time.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the summary. We're pretty much at the end here. So it's clear we are part of an ecosystem now. Daybreak is part of an ecosystem, and as Robin explains it, we're part of their family. So we're family. You know what I mean? So what that means is we have a greater access to a broader range of capabilities now. Petro being the most obvious one of them. But as I mentioned in the previous slide, that also means that other developing studios halfway across the world that could be working on something while we're sleeping on this side of the world. There's just the possibilities now are not just endless. They're open. They're attainable. They're realistic. That's what this acquisition is. So EG7 has said so many times. Robin says it almost every time I listen to him in a Q&A, whatever. EG7 intends to be the heart of gaming. He says it over and over and over again. I want EG7 to be the heart of gaming. I want people to see that we develop games, that we produce them, we market them, we give them good experiences. He's a gamer. He understands what that means, and he's also a businessman. He knows how to get it to make it happen. And as you can see with the discussion, the deal that he made with Daybreak, where he acquired a company that is as big as him, acquired it, not merged, acquired. They own 100% of the shares of EG7. That's a big deal. That speaks to the level of trust that G Ham and Jason have in Robin, and that Robin has in them. So that's a very significant thing in our world. We're not just, it didn't just change hands. I think it's for the better. So they are focused on growth. They mentioned that quite a number of times. After saying that at the heart of gaming, they're focused on growth, user growth. They want more people to play. And interconnected group each member draws from. I don't remember what that means, probably in the terms of capabilities. And a consistent content cadence. He mentioned that a number of times as well. They want to establish a consistent patch release upgrade schedule. And that increases our subscription model. It grows what we have access to in PS2, not just by what we can buy, but in terms of what we buy gets us. New games as well. But for the PS2 player, you're looking at, in my eyes, everything gets better is what this tells me. And what you can expect to benefit from the ecosystem. Increased number of updates, more players playing the game, and greater game recognition. Rel mentioned not too long ago in a stream, I can't remember which one, he said that Planetside 2 has a remarkably significant word of mouth. A lot of people will refer the game, and then their friends will try it. You've probably experienced that. I've definitely experienced that, my friends.
I think it's
But when it
because
comes
of
to
the level of training that each of your members take, like such as yourself, you're also training individuals. We have literally been designed as a gamer in Planetside 2 to teach a new player how to play this game. We give them exactly how to load their I&I. So you saw that with Summit 1. They forced them to go with potato graphics just so he can see anything and shoot them. And that's not in the game because the game is intended to play on Ultra, but on Ultra, you can't see anything. And so everybody helps you, learn how to play the game at their pace. And so when you do this for 8 years, you're going to teach your friends saying, I know my friend's capable of playing Planetside. I'm going to teach them. That's the whole purpose of the word of mouth, because the game is forced to teach us how to teach others how to play this game. And so,
pro tip, turn your shadows down, turn your foliage down. If you want to see those landmines blowing up your Sunday,
about KD,
you can see them a little bit better if you turn that foliage down.
If you care about KD, I don't care about KD, so I play on Ultra.
I care about not dying to a landmine. How about
I
that?
die so many times. It's bad. But yeah, I know what you mean. If you're on stream, I recommend full graphic detail. Give people a great experience. But if you are ready to go and get some good kills and get some kill streaks going, and increase your KPM, you need to go lower graphic render detail, or you're pulling a Cedric 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean 5, 4, and he's on full graphics for some reason. That's sick. And the same thing. Go ahead.
See, that's all I had on my end, man. It was a lot, but there's a lot here, and there's so much more that we didn't cover. But this is what I consider to be the bare essentials of what is happening, why, how.
100%.
What we think is going to happen next. I'm excited.
I'm super excited, by the way. We just came down to the summary of it. You guys had an opportunity to listen. This is Lanzer, everybody. Let's give it up to him. Can I get some claps in chat? Can I get some thank yous across the board? Throw some emotes for this individual if you guys want to give a chance to let him know that you appreciate this individual for the time and energy he's given you guys. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat who is potentially interested or supporting this channel, for even leaving a lurk and helping me grow as a content creator. And I need to go and spend some time reading off everybody who actually gave me a sub today and support and bit donation. So at the very end of the stream, I'm going to basically reach out to you. But for right now, this is your opportunity to give a question over to Lanzer. I'm going to give it to Lanzer so he can look at chat, read any questions that you guys have, go back on the slides if you have a direct question for him. I'm going to go and step out for just 2 minutes to go use the restroom, and I'll be right back. So go ahead, guys. Take a minute. At Lanzer, type in chat so they can see your name, so they can you can go through any slide answering a chat question, and then I will be right back for answering any questions. So when I bring my camera on, you know I'm back. Let's go ahead and get me to be invisible. Go ahead, Lanzer.
Will C4 be fixed, Pablo? I don't know, man. C4 is never a fun thing. I'm primarily a Vanguard player, I love the Vanguard, NC Connery, and I've been an armor player since forever. So C4 is the bane of my existence. I hope so, but then again, I don't want to undervalue a very, I should be scared of C4. And it's my fault if I don't wear the, I can't remember what it's called, the reinforced armor. So if I value, radar over reinforced armor, then I need to be paying attention. When XBob port for PS2, I don't know. I don't really know. What's XBob? Marcus, did you have fun during last night's reunion? I have a confession to make. Last night I was in the Matrix here, doing this stuff, and I lost track of time. That was my bad, and it was the reunion ops for Devil Dogs, which has been around since the 90s, and carried over into Planetside 2. NC Connery, we're one of the largest outfits on Connery, and last night was our reunion ops with all the many hundreds of people that have come through, and I wasn't there for that. Yikes. Sorry,
all right, I'm back. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys had a chance, did you look over everything? Did everybody ask you any questions specific to this flight, or are they trolling about C4s?
they've been asking me questions. We talked a bit about C4 and my reservations for being a Vanguard player. And Vortex, yes, I do remember Drunken Nights.
Awesome.
We've had so many good battles over the years. Like it's crazy. It's so much fun.
I love it. So I just want to basically thank you so much, Lanzer, for
666 cap to win the alert.
I know, dude.
Yikes! I'm embarrassed.
That's all Lanzer's fault right there. Lanzer, is there anything else you want to tell everybody in the chat? EG7, Rogue Planet, Daybreak, so you can summarize it before I go take it away and say thank you to the chat for the donations earlier?
Yeah, I think so. Just take it easy. I'm excited, and I'm just watching. I'm looking for the signs. I'm seeing what I can see. My expectations are that if it happens, it happens. If not, I'm not going to be angry about it. You're not going to see me rant or rave about it. Daybreak does what it can with the resources it has. EG7 is no different. And I trust that EG7 wants to help the game, wants to help us. I trust that Daybreak wants to help us. I know Rel does. I know Rogue Planet Games. Everybody's working hard. Alan Lapidus, the environmental artist lead. They all make this work, and they do so as best they can. So I give them the benefit of the doubt almost every single time. In fact, I don't know of a time I don't give them the benefit of the doubt.
Why do you give them a benefit of the doubt every single time? Is there every time you actually feel like your heart's broken, like you didn't really enjoy it? I can tell you those dates, but how about you?
Yeah.
Why do you give them benefit of the doubt?
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's another person working on the end of that to try and make it better, even if I don't see it every day. And that's what I want you all to take away from this as well, is that I'm excited. Also, I need to be realistic about what I expect from all this. And if you are realistic too, then I don't think you'll be disappointed. Even if you have a C4 ferry over your Vanguard and you get blown to smithereens. I get mad at that too. But I should have been better. So that's what I'll leave it with. And as an aside, now that I've been able to fix the stream, my stream, I won't be streaming like Arshee. Arshee is in another level from me. What I'll be doing is I have other topics that I want to talk about, like the posts that I made on day one being the community manager, day one being the game designer. I'm not going to be community manager. Mithril is. I don't have the resume experience for game design, but when I posted that stuff, it was very well received, and I intend on doing something similar to this for that. The one I was working on last night was something Outfit Wars, some stuff like this, but for Outfit Wars. And now that I'm in a position to do that with my stuff working, I want to do that too, and have those discussions like this with PowerPoint presentation.
Looking forward to seeing those streams, man. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And
and I'll be rating Arshee and Deeg and everybody else after. Like that's. Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that for a long time.
Traditionally, your content is going to be more informative.
It will be more informative. Yeah, I want it to be more interactive as well, like this.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, it'll be stuff like that. Things that I observe, things that I see.
Glad to see you on board, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Arshee. Thank you. Really
Not even,
appreciate
not-
you taking the
stop
time to
it.
do this.
Stop.
There's a lot of work on your end.
I
to
try
make
to
this
tell a
happen.
lot of people that you guys can start streaming, and the streaming is not easy. Pushing that start button is extremely anxiety-ridden, intense. But once you start, and you actually start seeing yourself obtain a viewer base, and you start recognizing that you can actually do this to a certain degree, we're here to support you. My Discord channel gives you the opportunity to post on self-promotions. I've made networking partner, friends, community members that you will see all post in that channel, and their communities all know that you're all interconnected. Utilize that channel, the self-promotion channel, in my Discord, !Discord if you want to find it, and that will give you the opportunity to see if you go live, write a message about what the heck you're going live about. Just putting your link, I honestly would never click it. I don't know what the hell you're doing, and I don't have the energy for every single kind of content. But if you say, I'm going to clap some cheeks tonight, maybe you want to see some cheeks being clapped. I don't know, maybe. Or I want to see an informative talk about EG7 acquiring Daybreak. You know, there's so many different ways you can actually do this. So that's my tip to you guys. I love you all.
Yeah.
Lanzer, you were freaking amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Likewise. Hey,
making
and
this
by the way,
opportunity.
by the way, go watch Arshee's interview with Deeg sometime.
No, don't
if you
do
want to
this,
learn,
dude.
if you want to learn, I'm not even being paid to say this. If you want to learn how hard it is, and just the story of how to be a streamer, and what's important, go watch that. It opened my eyes in many different ways. Right on.
Dig ripped it out of me, man. And I realized I said
keep on keeping on.
I said way too much.
Deeg, DEEG.
Yeah.
Boom. There in chat.
Deeg is fantastic at
he's like the Socrates of Planetside 2.
Pulling the heartstrings, he's really good at doing that.
He's the philosopher.
Yes. And he'll always be here. Guys, I want you all to say thank you to Lanzer. We're going to go ahead and dip out from this call with each other, and I'm going to go just chatting to talk to you guys personally. Lanzer, thank you so much, buddy.
Love it. Love it.
And we'll see you out in the field, soldier. Take care.
Right on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're basically currently going to look at all the people who gave us an opportunity to... I want to thank every single person who donated during the stream. So I'm going to start from the very first one where I completely fumbled my alerts. Again, I am not used to stream elements. I'm currently on Streamlabs regular OBS studio, what you going to call it. I transferred from Streamlabs to OBS. There's too much to learn as a streamer when you do that transition. And so I can sit here showing you all day. Like, my stream deck is finally decked out. I finally have the small one decked out, you know, and I have everything ready to go. I can spam this button to actually start showcasing a little bit of dance emote. And so that just gives you an idea, like, every one of these little things takes time and also practice. So don't be afraid to make mistakes if you wanted those feedback points. And so just fail and have fun failing. And if you can't enjoy that, that's something I can't teach. But other than that, I want to say thank you to all. Let's go ahead and just start from the very top. And let's say thank you to Jason Kane for resubbing at Prime for 4 months. You're amazing. Thank you, Jason. Jason Kane also gifting a tier 1 sub to Jeddles Twitch. Irish Scientist coming in. Irish Scientist, if you guys don't know him, was from TATF from yesterday, the charity stream that me and Mofker Live supported. It was a 24-hour charity stream for cancer awareness. I don't know specific details on that. The Irish Scientist, aka Ethan, can answer all those questions for you from TATF. Amazing community from Planetside 2. And we have Jason Kane gifting 3 tier 1 subs. Son of a... Thank you, Jason. We've got Papa Geiger resubbing for the last 3 months. Papa Geiger, you're beautiful, man. You don't have to basically do that. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community as well. Papa, what the... Go wash your hands. We got Marcus LM72 resubbing for the last 2 months. Thank you so much for the 2-month streak as well, Marcus. You're amazing. Pablo... I don't know if I could do this whole name. So Pablo Mablo gifting tier 1 sub to Terror Legend. Thank you for that gift, man. Over to Terra. Thanks for being a part of the family. And Pablo Geiger cheering 100 bits. And Jason Kane 2020 gifting 2 tier 1 subs again. Again, thank you guys so much for the support and donations. This is how I'm going to do it from now on. So at the end of the streams, during these kind of conversations, I'm going to take the time to thank you all. During the stream, it gets very distracting for a lot of people that are trying to have a conversation or trying to do a presentation, or if I'm doing outfit spotlights and we're having interviews, it's extremely difficult for that individual to know that it actually happened on the stream. So it cuts out their voices and they're not directly engaged because of the delay that the stream offers them. They're 5-second delayed, so they're talking through that point. So we made some choices from the ArsheeTV feedback channel on Discord to say, let's just do the alert talks at the end. If Arshee's streaming solo and he's playing games like Scavengers, Apex Legends, Planetside 2, which is very rare that he plays solo, then I will have those alerts on. But the reason for my solo play on Planetside 2 is non-existent is because it's just not fun to play solo Planetside 2. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy playing with guilds, communities, running a platoon, or just think of strategies all day. And so I would rather play other games that are solo-based, that are not so damn stressful that I have to have every single counter towards every single player. And so that's just my opinion of Planetside 2. It's a very difficult game to play solo, unless if you like one specific kind of craft, such as your infantry heavy, like a heavy assault that just goes around and just claps people inside doors all day, or you know exactly where the fights are. I don't feel like doing that kind of grind. So if you guys are guild members and you actually are playing and you think there's a spot for Arshee on there, you can invite me and I'll stream with you. So I'm looking forward to basically streaming with other outfits out there more often. I've opened the doors to our content not being so family friendly anymore. We've made it to where you guys can actually use language. So if you're an outfit that actually uses cuss words such as the F-bomb or S-bomb, you're more than welcome to, use that. But of course, TOS forever until the day I die, I'm assuming. We don't condone racism, derogatory, sexist statements, guys. So I love you guys, and very excited to see what's going to be coming for Planetside 2. And thanks for being here, guys. You should have popped on last night, Arshee. I would have sent you clips even. Dude, I know, Wilhelm, your freaking clips and your videos is super awesome, man. You guys are killing it. Just keep up the good work. Jason Kane says, don't spam. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I just pushed the button on the thing. Take care, Jason. Have a good one. And Marcus, have a great one. We're going to go send this love right now over to another Twitch streamer that is currently live. If you guys don't know who I'm going to do it to, let's get a chance to see who can take this and increase the hype for our community here. I'm going to send this love over to... Oh my god. This is perfect. I'm going to send this over to Alpha141. My moderator for ArsheeTV, who is now playing Minecraft. He's probably not ready for this. This is perfect. He hasn't streamed ever, hasn't been a part of the community since so much IRL stuff happening. Guys, bring him the love. He's the #1 cinematic stream, #1 winner, or the winner of the cinematic competition that happened last year in 2020. The video is called Vengeance for Planetside 2. Check it out. It's epic. Let's go share that love over to Alpha and put a big smile on his face, guys. Alpha141 is an incredible player and content creator. See you guys over there. Until next time, guys. Peace.